liberty, and justice for all. Thank you very much. We will call our meeting to order. And we begin today with an update from our thriving downtown enterprises from our LDDA Director, Julie Townsend. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you, ma'am.
Touch it.
You can make it anything you'd like.
It's not good evening. Good afternoon. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. Good afternoon, commissioners, mayor, city manager. Thank you for having me today. Look forward to giving you a quick little update on just some of the things that we are working on at the Lakeland Downtown Development Authority, and then just sort of a temperature overall of what's going on downtown. Okay, so who we are, just a quick overview. The Lakeland Downtown Development Authority is an elected board. We have 6 elected board members and 1 appointed city commissioner, Scott Franklin, Mr. Franklin, to sit on our board. 3 staff members with administration, marketing. That's the gist of who we are, makes up our organization. The LDDA is a taxing authority, and the taxable values for this year are a little over $189 million. Our millage rate this year is 1.8439. We did do the rollback rate this year. And our overall tax revenues for fiscal year 2021 are about $350,000. Our total revenues, though, are a little over $518,000. First Fridays and the farmers market actually generate their own income. So we do have some programs that generate income for the organization as well. There's 3 major areas of focus that the LDDA concentrates on. We do basically marketing, maintenance, and management. And so marketing, we have our signature events, of course, the Farmers Market, First Friday, Holiday Walkabout, but we really do close to about 100 different events and promotions to promote downtown in general and specific businesses throughout the year. And so, of course, we're counting, the 48 Farmers Markets, the 12 First Fridays. We have date nights, we have girls' night out, we have summer shopping incentives throughout the year. And we're going to be adding some new things. We had a bingo game during COVID. So we do lots of different programs to try to keep downtown top of mind with customers and residents and keep them coming back. We manage all the downtown social media. We have text messaging system. We have email, newsletter. Of course, we have website. We have the downtown visitor guide that we publish twice annually, and then distribute those copies into restaurants and hotels throughout the area, the visitor center down in Haines City. Is it Haines City? Yeah. And then our little office right there on Munn Park actually doubles sort of as a little visitor center. So when we do have visitors in downtown, they often come in and ask us questions and get information about downtown businesses. Maintenance, we're pretty much the eyes and the ears of on the ground for the city. We work very closely with a lot of the city departments and the city staff to identify problems and work with them on solutions. Some of the things that we've done in the past are the big belly trash cans, the compactors. When there's maintenance issues with the trees, the sidewalks, the little pavers popping up. We are in constant communication with those staff that take care of all that so that we can make sure that we can keep downtown clean and safe. Some of the programs that we actually run are the banner program. We are the ones who rent the space and hang the banners for like the Tigers and the Magic and some of the other organizations that have rented the banner locations over the years. We provide our own banners. I'll tell you about the ones we've got hanging right now in just a few minutes. And then we also maintain the container gardens, the plants that you see in the pots around downtown. We do some small cleanups, but that's not something you really want to hear about. Don't want to talk about the things we clean up. Management, again, we work very closely with city departments to create programs and policies and plans just to basically improve the district. So CRA is a very close partner with us. We work with them on the downtown vision plans. We work very closely with parking because parking is probably the hottest topic in downtown at any given day. When we had COVID and we needed to make some changes to the parking to provide more 15-minute parking spaces, we were working very closely and communicating the needs of the businesses to the parking services department so that they could provide the spaces and the locations that were going to best suit the needs of those businesses. And programs that we've run on our own, valet, bike share, are things that we had brought to the downtown community. And we also created the pedestrian wayfinding signage that you'll see sprinkled throughout downtown. So just different ways that we work to manage the space and make sure that it's the best that it can be for visitors and the businesses. So what are we up to now? This year we're working on several projects. The city already has an amazing app that is produced by a company called AutoCast. And if you haven't been to the Lemon Street Promenade and downloaded the AutoCast app, you should, because it is actually an audio guide to all of the pieces of art. We were actually looking into this with a different company when I received an email from city staff saying, hey, make you aware that we have this. So I was able to reach out to that company, and now we're looking to expand it to all 40 pieces of all the sculptures that are in downtown. So we're really excited about that. What we'll do after that is we will work with that same company to do historic walking tours, self-guided historic walking tours. It can also has the technology to do, what's the word I'm looking for? It left my brain. Scavenger hunts. So lots of different things that people can engage with without necessarily having to come to an event. They can do it on their own time, at their own pace, win prizes, and really have ways to promote the businesses in a different way where we're not necessarily congregating people.
Did you mention Lemon Street Promenade?
Did I?
I'm asking.
Yes, it's already on Lemon Street Promenade. So I think there's 12 pieces on the Lemon Street Promenade are already part of this AutoCast app. And my understanding is he sort of did it as a foot in the door freebie. So it isn't something that the city had to pay for, but now the LDDA is going to expand that program and invest in making that a larger program for all of the art downtown. So we're really excited about that. We have 2 new fun events that are coming up this year. Next Friday, Friday, November 13th, is our Art and Wine Festival, Art and Wine Walk. We've never done this before, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It is a ticketed event, and it's a way to get art in the line of sight of some folks that maybe don't necessarily visit museums very often. So we're going to attract you with some free wine. It's not really free because you're buying a ticket, but it's going to be Scattering the Arts, basically a progressive wine and art gallery where you'll walk from shop to shop, you'll look at the art, you'll learn about that art, you'll sample some wine, you'll sample some food, we'll have some music sprinkled along the streets, so we can control the number of people that are participating in that through the ticket sales, but of course the general public can certainly shop in the shops and enjoy the art as well throughout that evening. It's not going to be limited to just the people who buy tickets. So that gets me back to the banners that you see. One of the fun ways that we're promoting this event is we had the artists from the Lakeland Art Guild actually paint the banners. Each one is an original work of art. They're all double-sided, so there's 23 that are hanging along Lemon Street from Massachusetts to South Florida. And it's just a canvas material. We totally stole the process from David Collins and the tapestries. So I ordered these, I prepped them, I painted my artwork was the gray prepping. That was all I could contribute. So I prepped both sides of these. Artists came to my house, picked up the canvases, and then created these beautiful pieces of art. So these will be actually on auction on the night of the event. So each one is individual. Go check them out, see which one you like.
Isn't that a great idea?
Yeah, it's a lot, and it was a lot of fun. I was shocked at how beautiful they all turned out because that's a lot of work for them to do, really for no pay at all. All the money that all the proceeds will go back to the Lakeland Art Guild and the Bartow Art Guild because those are the artists that are participating. So we're very excited about that. We have a new regularly monthly occurring event called Tasty Tuesdays. So Tasty Tuesdays is going to be, again, a ticketed, a fee-based kind of event. You just buy a ticket. For $25, you'll get 10 tastes. And each month, different businesses will participate, restaurants, bars, ice cream shops. And there's no particular order. There's no particular path that you have to take. You just, on that Tasty Tuesday, you show up, you get your tickets, and you'll use those to get the samples. And this is a way to get people to try maybe some food they've not have tried before and really get them walking, because we want them to walk from the Joinery all the way to Port Parker, all the way to Swan Brewing, because downtown really is bigger than just the few streets that surround Munn Park. And I included some cute little photos from this past weekend's trick-or-treat shop to shop. You can see some of our little trick-or-treaters there. They were super adorable. We had way more people than we had anticipated. I think last year was our first year to do trick-or-treat shop to shop, and we had about 100 kids. I think this year we had about 3,000 kids. So we were scrambling to buy more candy and bring it to the merchants, and it was a good problem to have. It was a lot of fun. The farmers market, if you haven't noticed, has expanded. After COVID, when we reinstated the farmers market, we knew that we needed to provide larger spaces between the businesses or the vendors because that would also give the patrons a lot more space. So we asked the city if they would let us go all the way down to Lemon Street, but I did warn the mayor that once you let that genie out of the bottle, it's probably not going back. And so the businesses on South Kentucky love having the market in front of their businesses. All the customers are saying how much easier it is to just walk and browse, and they've seen businesses, vendors that they haven't seen before because we were so crowded together. So it really works well. We really would like to keep it. And so Bob Donahue and I have already had that conversation. He's committed till the end of the year for me, and then we're going to work through how we move forward. But if you haven't been to the farmers market since it reopened, please come down and see it. It's amazing. And of course, First Friday starts again this Friday. Our theme is not usually Dog Days of Summer, or not Dog Days of Summer, Dog Days Downtown in November, but that is such a popular theme, we decided to make that the theme for sort of the grand reopening of First Friday. So that should be interesting. We're going to space out those regular exhibitors and vendors as well. Of course, we do have signage that asks people to wear masks and socially distance. So we have all of those CDC guidelines in place. And then one of the other big projects that we're working on is parklets. So we're very excited. I've been meeting with the city staff. I think we're finally, they can tell me, we're finally to a point where we can probably get that presented to you guys. But did a lot of research, we had a lot of great questions, a lot of great discussions with staff about how we implement parklets. Just provide you a couple of photos there. Obviously, drainage is an issue, and safety is the top priority. And I think we've hammered that all out. Lots of other cities are doing it, so we didn't have to really reinvent the wheel here. Just looked at what other cities were doing for best practices. And so I'm ready. I know my businesses are ready. We have 3 that'll be a sort of our pilot project. And then if those really work well and everyone's happy, we'd like to see if we can offer that opportunity to some of the other businesses throughout downtown. What's really important about the parklet idea for me is just being able to spread them out through downtown and not concentrate all of that activity and energy into one single block. We have great restaurants all throughout downtown. We want people to walk. We want people to understand that downtown is bigger than just the block of South Kentucky. So in order to do that, you have to really offer this opportunity to many, many businesses throughout downtown. So, the state of downtown, saw the Publix parking lot this morning. It shocked me. It is full. I haven't seen it full since probably March. But I was glad to see that. Many office workers still not back. Maybe that's not true as of this morning because I was basing that mostly off of the empty garages, Main Street and Orange Street, and the surface lots that are usually filled with all of our office workers are mostly bare, except for this morning. We had quite a bit in the Publix parking lot. Retail, I talk with the retailers regularly, send them surveys to gather information about how they're doing. And thankfully, I think everyone's going to make it. We're going to be okay downtown. They are definitely having more online sales. Sales in the stores are steady. Of course, everyone always wants more customers. You can never have too many. But they certainly are not in dire straits. Restaurants, definitely to-go is still a huge part of their business. People are still getting food to take home. The curbside delivery, though, not nearly as prevalent, and that's why we implemented those 15-minute parking spaces and so many throughout downtown. So we'll be looking to pull some of those back and put them, probably have more than we did prior to COVID, because we do still need the bite squads and the, I don't know what other companies that, I don't use those companies, so I don't know what they're called. The delivery services still struggle to find a place to park. So they're really asking for us to have a few more 15-minute parking spaces to make sure that they can service the restaurants downtown. And I misspelled restaurants. Just realized that. Sorry about that. Sales are doing well for the restaurants. Certainly those that have outdoor seating are seeing a lot of folks utilize the outdoor seating. Most places do have some outdoor seating. Obviously some have more than others. And in terms of what they're reporting as far as mask wearing or what they're requiring, it's all over the place. There wasn't really any sort of consistency. Many of the businesses are requiring their employees to still wear masks, but a lot of them are just leaving it up to the customers as to whether what their comfort level is. And just talking about downtown in general, my office is on Munn Park. I can see the Munn Park parking lot from my office. And that's really a good indicator for me of just where downtown is on any given day with the amount of traffic that we're seeing, and which is one of the reasons why we haven't even really talked about bringing valet back. We have, I hate to say it, but we have plenty of parking downtown. We have plenty of parking downtown. So when the Munn Park parking lot is not rocking and rolling, I know that we could be doing better because pre-COVID it was packed pretty much all day, and so we've got lots of extra spaces in the Munn Park parking lot throughout the day. And that is all I have, and I'm happy to answer any questions from any of you.
Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Julie, for the report. I'm glad to see we're seeing some resurgence in, of course, our downtown. As we've been sheltering in place for many months.
Yes.
But First Friday, coming back this Friday,
Yes.
What's your thoughts? Because, First Friday could be quite a few people.
Yes.
A great number of people. But
yes. It makes me nervous. Being outdoor, I feel better knowing that outdoors is best. So I feel good about that. I don't think anyone is going to be near another person for any extended period of time. So just the information that I've read and understand about the spread, it's density and concentration and close proximity to someone who. So if you're constantly walking, if you're wearing your mask, and you're wearing it for other people, then I think we should be okay. If it gets, we'll see. I think you all should let me know as well. If it's too big and we need to, put it back on pause, we will certainly do that.
So you would certainly look at and have your fingers on the pulse as to how this coming Friday will be a testing gauge.
Yes.
Or whether we should move forward with continual First Fridays or.
And a lot of people ask me what's the difference between First Friday and the farmers market, why we had the farmers market back and not First Friday, or why do we have the farmers market back at all. And I think it's really again, it's outdoors, people are constantly moving. It's a shopping opportunity, so really the farmer's market, to me, in my mind, is no different than the malls being open. We could have stayed open the entire time because it was considered an essential service because it had food and produce, and we do offer the SNAP program, so folks who relied on getting those additional dollars that we give out as part of the grant, the matching tokens, they were hurting. They weren't getting their matching tokens, so we came back because we knew we were essential to a certain population. Certainly, lots of folks, it is, like I said, it's food, but it's a 6-hour event. It's all day. People don't necessarily stay for all 6 hours. You come, you shop, and you go home. First Friday is a little different because I think people stay for the full duration, and so they aren't necessarily in the same place, but they are, downtown for the most part for the full 3 hours. So that's why the hesitation with First Friday. It's a shorter period of time and could potentially be a larger concentration of people.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments? Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Julie, for being here today. And on the parklets, you said there's 3 in the pilot phase, and then did you say how many we're hoping to have total in the long run?
I think it really depends on the cost, the location. Some locations are more conducive to having one than others. It is a significant cost, but there are the financial benefits because it could increase, they show it, increases business by about 20%. So if you believe the numbers that we're hearing from other cities, they are an investment that's worth doing. So it really just depends on if the city is willing to let us implement more and where those might be in terms of in the block and also high traffic streets, things like that. So we do have a lot of folks that already have a good bit of outdoor seating, so they may not all be takers.
Okay, and that was my follow-up question. Is your sense from most of the restaurants, is there a strong interest? Is it kind of a wait and see? To me, it seems like the more we can expand that outdoor dining and create an atmosphere where people can sit outside and want to linger moving in that direction, the better. I'm just curious what the restaurants think right now.
I think if someone else was paying for it, they would all do it. So, it's, as I said, to invest in it now with the current situation, just, many of them being closed for a while or just having to go, the timing might not be right. But we're hoping that we can get these 3 built, installed. We can talk about the successes of those, and then we can get others to buy into that idea and have, little sprinkles of parklets throughout with the umbrellas and really, you're standing on the corner, the Harry's parklet, and you look north on Kentucky and you see one at Mitchell's. And so it's like, we want to give the impression that because it's true, that there's a lot of interesting places downtown and you need to walk from block to block to find those places.
Good deal. Thank you.
In no case are any of these across the street, correct? So these are on the sides traffic continues to flow. They don't go through the entire street.
Correct, right. They are in parking spaces only.
Yeah.
So you lose some parking, but that's perfectly acceptable.
Other commissioners? Commissioner Franklin.
Just a comment, not really a question. Now, I've really enjoyed the last 3 years. I've been able to work on the board with you. And for those who don't work with Julie directly, she is a tireless champion of the downtown market.
Yes.
Always looking for creative opportunities to do more with less. And you've been challenged with that a lot of times and have come through. But anyway, I just really appreciate all your efforts that you do for everyone.
I appreciate that.
And overcomes obstacles that people continue to throw up and not throw up, literally, but all those, even those obstacles.
That's the cleanup I was talking about that we didn't want to talk about.
That's right. Yeah. Continue to put before because it's a challenging area for lots of reasons.
Yes, there's a lot of differing opinions about subjects that are very near and dear to all of us. So it's challenging to sort of get consensus and try to move in a direction that doesn't make half of everyone angry at me at all times.
Yeah, we know.
And thank you, Commissioner Franklin, for serving in that role, too.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Let me just comment. I heard also, thank you, Ms. Julie mentioned about parking, and I know that's been a sore subject for years since I've been up here on the dais. But I heard you say something that you said, there's parking, so I'm glad to hear. There's adequate, I would call adequate parking. And I'm glad to hear you say people getting out to walk, because I found through all of that that we dealt with for a lot of years, and even with my newer colleagues coming on board here in the dais, we found people just didn't want to walk, and I gave many examples walking from down around Lake Morton, almost close to Lake Morton, where we are almost, and you walk and find just spaces all around, but we always want to be close to where we want to be, and we want to get out our car and be right there at that front door. So I'm glad to know that we have some adequate parking. Glad to heard you say it.
We do. Well, I think, in my opinion, we've always had adequate parking. I think most people experience downtown at peak times, either lunchtime, and nobody can find a place to park because everybody's trying to get to the restaurants at the same time. Same with dinner. But if as you said, there's adequate parking, and it's more of a walking problem than it is a parking problem. And if you look now where you do have successful businesses on Lake Mirror, like the Joinery, and that parking lot that no one ever parked in, I would park there and then bike share from the little bike share over to my office. My car would be the only car in that parking lot under the overpass, and now it's full every single day. And so it's because the concentration of where people want to be is very dense in the core. And now that we are expanding that out and having interesting places that people want to be, I see people crossing Massachusetts all the time now. Mm-hmm. And so they're walking, and you've got the Lakeland rec room now that helps bridge that gap. So creating these new businesses that become part of the links in the chain that keep people walking and interested in their walk, because it's always no fun to pass, parking lots and, bank drive-throughs. That's not the interesting things people want to walk past. So doing a good job of getting lots of new businesses downtown.
And even things like the farmer's market, which extends longer now, cause people to walk areas that they didn't walk before. And it's very great. And most people are wearing masks, by the way, anyway.
They are. We still have about 50% of all the folks at the farmer's market wearing masks, and we request that the vendors wear masks. We do let them take them off, if there's no customers at their booth, because outside all day, 6 hours in a mask is difficult for folks. So, we're trying to, do everything that we can so that we can keep these businesses and the events going and not have to have any kind of shutdown again.
Any other comments? Thank you very much. We appreciate your work greatly.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have a commemorative flyover picture presentation from Aaron Yeek. Is it Yeek? Yeek, yeah. Yeah, exactly what I was going to guess. Yeek, and who is the vice president of the outstanding Lakeland Aero Club. So tell them all a little bit about what you do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, commissioners, for having us today. Back during COVID, also my name is Nick Poucher. I'm from the Lakeland Aero Club as well. But we did a flyover for first responders and for the city. And I'm going to let Aaron, he's our vice president, tell you guys a little bit about that.
Nice.
Thank you again for having us. My name is Aaron Yicky. I'm the vice president of the Lakeland Aero Club. We are the largest high school flying club in the world. We have our own hangar at the Sun and Fun Expo campus, where we have our own fleet of vintage aircraft that we get to fly, restore, build, and maintain. Behind me, actually, we have a couple of our members here in the black shirts. All of these members have actually recently soloed an aircraft by themselves. Many of them are only 14 years old, so we've been able to help them do that. And Colby actually just passed a check ride as well for his glider license, so he's officially a glider pilot. So we're very happy to be able to help them do that. As Nick was explaining, during COVID, we saw that the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds were doing flyovers of locations, hospitals, fire departments, and whatnot to show their support for the amazing work that our first responders are doing. What we do is we fly, and unfortunately we were forced to close during that time during COVID and during the summertime. So we decided we're going to have to fly the airplanes anyway to keep them healthy, so why not fly and show our support as well? So during our flyover, we flew over several locations such as the Watson Clinic, Police Department, Fire Department. We even met Sheriff Judd, again, to say thank you. We also in this picture flew over the city of Lakeland. Beautiful city, of course, as I'm sure you're aware. And we would just like to say thank you to everyone for the amazing work that you guys have put in for us. An outstanding job. So.
And can you show the audience? So we'll do a the three of us 6 feet apart are all going to be up here. Yeah, the whole crew would be nice.
That'd be good.
If we're going to be that close, we go up.
Now you can get close.
Great shot the way you have the 3 planes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, we want to balance the sides. Somebody can come over here. Are you 14? Yeah.
One more.
One more.
There you go.
And we'll come tightly in like this.
Slide it just a little.
Well, now you're alone over there.
Slide in, yeah.
Slide in a little bit more.
Alright.
There you go.
Alright, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hang this in our hallway.
Beautiful.
And that's great. Thank you so much. Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you all. How's that you? I was working.
You don't know very many 14-year-old pilots. That's great. Next, we have the privilege of being able to have the Beautification Awards, and Connie Haynes is going to do this for us today. No, she isn't. Bill's going to do this for us, who we just appreciate so much. And we have a residential and a commercial. The residential is first. Is that right?
See, I don't know yet.
Yes, it's the
Residential award first. And this is a very
Here.
beautiful house
Okay.
over on the Beacon Hills area, located at 2016 Seminole Trail, and the residence belongs to David and Kathy Hitchcock. And I believe they're here today to accept the award. The house is always beautiful, and the house is, and the yard is always great. So we have a good winner today.
Cox, are you here? Yes, you are. Come on down. You can tell us a little bit about it. Who really does the work here? Yeah. Any comments? Come on, let's make a couple comments about what you love doing.
Well, it's fun to work on this house. It was built in 1926, we think. And the locals know it as the Floyd House, who owned it probably for 30 years. It's on the corner there of Seminole and Beacon, and gets a lot of traffic by, so it's just fun to have a nice house. And you are right, my wife does all the work on it.
We're going to do a picture up here really quickly. And Commissioner McCarley lives near this.
Yeah, I was going to say the Hitchcocks have always anchored our neighborhood on the corner with a beautiful yard, and they do festive things at different times of the year. So they're the envy of everyone.
Always nice too. Always.
They're lovely.
One more. Alright, thank you.
Next up, we have the commercial award, which goes to Catapult Lakeland. It's one of those spectacular new structures on the north side of Lake Mirror. And I believe there's someone here to talk about this project also.
There is.
I'm the landscape inspector, and this meets all the codes, and it's beautifully maintained, and the building and the landscape is great. So we're proud to present this award.
So who is going to speak?
Thank you. One of these days we'll let you inside so you can see how beautiful the inside is, but maybe after COVID when we can all get back together again. I guess I'm here representing LEDC, Christina's here representing Catapult, and then Nick's here representing Marco Bay. All of us work very closely on this, but really this is a testament to a public-private partnership. This would have never happened had we not had the 5 parcels, 3 of which the city owned, that we were able to put together. Irma helped us a little bit with that old beautiful structure that we're kind of glad got pushed over, but it really turned out wonderful. We're super excited about it. We love being inside it. If you haven't been in, it's absolutely fantastic. The vibrancy that's going on in there is just awesome. So we're really pleased with the award. Thank you very much, and really pleased that we could have this project on the lake.
You want to say anything, Christine, about Catapult? Come on. Just a little, the purpose inside.
Yeah, here, I'll take my mask off. Yeah, we're just so blessed to be in this building. It's so fun to see it being finally used for its purpose, to house entrepreneurs and help them launch and grow their business. And so we're just grateful for the city's partnership on this project, the several architects that worked on this, and just so many parties involved, and we're just grateful, and I know the entrepreneurs are as well, and it's just a piece that'll be here for many years to come, and really a signal for the community and an opportunity for a lot of people to start something, stay here, and grow here.
Thank you. Let's take a picture up here. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Bill Cohen, who just made those presentation, is in his 50th year of employment. Isn't that correct, sir?
I've been here 50 years and 6 months.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we are so grateful for you, sir. Thank you.
Also a lot of fun. At least the horticultural part of it is fun. The landscape inspector part, not quite so much.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay.
There are no proclamations today. That brings us into the heart of the meeting, and we have committee reports, and the first one is municipal boards and committees, which is Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Mayor. The Municipal Board Committee met via GoToMeeting. Stephanie Madden, myself as chair, Mayor Bill Mutz, and Commissioner Sarah McCarley were present. Commissioners Bill Reed and Scott Franklin were present along with staff. We called the meeting to order at 8:17 a.m. The purpose of the meeting was to receive and act upon the following recommendations. For the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, there was a recommendation from Annie Gibson to reappoint Heather Soloria to a 3-year term beginning November 20th, 2020 and ending November 19th, 2023. Also on the Affordable Housing Review Committee, there was a correction from the October 2nd, 2020 Municipal Boards Committee meeting, correcting Richard Osteen's appointment to a 3-year term beginning February 18th, 2019 and ending February 17th, 2022. For the Historic Preservation Board, there was a recommendation from Matthew Lyons to reappoint Lynn Dennis to a 3-year term beginning November 7th, 2020 and ending November 6th, 2023. We reviewed the appointments. Commissioner Sarah McCarley moved to approve the appointments. Stephanie Madden seconded, and the motion carried unanimously. We are always accepting applications for our various committees and boards. We want everyone to participate. You can find a list on our city website of open spots. On the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, we are looking for 1 member in the area of labor who's actively engaged in affordable home building. And Code Enforcement Board, they're looking for 1 member to be an alternate. And on the Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals, there are open spots. So we encourage you all to attend. The committee adjourned at 8:21 a.m.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Reed, and seconded by Commissioner McLeod. Discussion by commissioners? Any discussion by the audience? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. That brings us to the Real Estate and Transportation Committee report by Commissioner Chairman Reed, or Committee Chairman Reed.
Thank you, Mayor. The Real Estate and Transportation Committee met by meeting. Commissioner Bill Reed was chair. Scott Franklin and Bill Walker were present, along with Mayor Muntz, Stephanie Madden, Sarah McCauley, Chad McCall, and staff. call the meeting together at 8:21 a.m. The two orders of business. The first was the purchase and sale of Phil's Motor Car to the Lakeland Park Connector Project. The city is acquiring a property from Phil's Motor Car, Inc. for the Lakeland Park Drive Connector Project. The project will extend Lake Park Drive from the cul-de-sac at Phil's Motor Car westly to Carpenter's Way. The connection is to carry approximately 7,350 cars per day, and we will leave North State Road 33, North Florida Avenue, and Interstate 4. The city is requiring the following properties. Parcel number 1 is a 2.05 acres for road right-of-way. Another parcel of 54,203 square feet for a temporary construction easement. The total price of the property to be acquired is $542,504.64, which includes attorneys and consulting fees of $14,305.64. The purchase and sale agreement for the purchased motor car will be $542,505.64. Upon completion of the construction of the Lakeland Park Drive Connector Project, the city will convey the surplus right-of-way located at the cul-de-sac back to Phil's Motor Car, and implementation of to cure the cul-de-sac is $222,000. Attorney Palmer Davis presented the items. Commissioner Franklin moved to approve the purchase. Commissioner Bill Reed seconded, and the motion carried unanimously. The second order of business was the acquisition and development agreement between the Lakeland Lakeland Chamber of Commerce and the sale of City of Lakeland property located north of West Lemon Street, south of West Main, east of South Ohio, and west of Sykes Boulevard. On September the 7th, 2020, the city published a notice for disposition to request for proposals for purchase and development of city-owned property located at the address I just mentioned earlier. The Lakeland Chamber of Commerce was the only responding notice submitting a proposal for the construction of 15,000 square feet of business resource center on the property. And it would include educational space, training, and collaborative development opportunities for the City of Lakeland residents, and business facility to home 8 to 12 community partners, a banquet hall, and expansion of the visitor information center lobby, and a small conference room and a technology center. Staff recommended the city approve the acquisition and the development agreement with the City of Lakeland and the Lakeland Chamber of Commerce on the essential terms of condition to convey and authorize the appropriate city officials to extend all instruments necessary to finalize this agreement. Scott Franklin moved to approve the recommendation. Commissioner Phil Walker seconded. The motion carried unanimously, and we ended our meeting at 8:35 a.m.
All right, would you like to take these together or separately?
Together's fine.
Together? All right. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Commissioner Walker and a second by Commissioner Franklin. Discussion by commissioners?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So we have some folks from the chamber here. I thought, is that where you were going? Okay.
That's good. That's right. I don't ever mind.
I just thought it'd be great for them to share a little bit about the plans for the Business Resource Center and what they envision.
It's an exciting opportunity, a leveraging moment.
Thank you, Commissioner McLeod. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Corey Skates, President and CEO of the Lakeland Chamber of Commerce, and we do feel that this is a transformational moment for businesses throughout Lakeland and Polk County, which is a project that is 100 years in the making, since we're going to be celebrating our 100th anniversary in 2021. We do have a presentation that we'll try to get through quickly, but I wanted to start by introducing our team that we have here today. Darla Seacrest Petaway, who will be presenting with me. She's our Chief Development Officer. She's going to be responsible of raising all the money for this, so she's very valuable to us right now. Also wanted to introduce Stacy Haycock Weeks. She's been our chair of our Business Resource Center committee for this year, and also we're proud to recognize her as our 2021 chair-elect for the Chamber Board of Directors. We also have our 2020 chairman of the board, Matt Clark, with us today, as well as Gal Fields, who is our advocacy chair, and he's kind of been our point person on a lot of the negotiations with the city. And also we have Ryan Reese, who's our director of public affairs, who we've been keeping very busy in our election year. So let's see, where are we? There we go. And I'd also like to start by thanking city staff, including Nicole, Elise, Palmer, and Sean for all their work in this process. So we will start right off by introducing you to our new brand for the facility. It's going to be known as The Works Business Resource Center, powered by the Lakeland Chamber of Commerce. And thank you to our friends at MAID, who have created this wonderful brand for us.
I don't know what's going on with our system.
I saw it for a second.
It's the laptop, not the desktop.
It's the desktop push, so.
That's it.
Yeah, but it keeps rotating out.
Yeah, I know.
There we go. Perfect. Thanks, Kevin. Just to give you an overview very quickly, it was actually in 2015 at our board retreat, which was my first board retreat, that I kind of, as I tell everybody, rolled a grenade into the room and said at the very last day, in the last minutes when I was wrapping up, there's a neat concept of a facility called the National Entrepreneur Center in Orlando that is a business support organizations. They have 8 to 12 under one roof. That's kind of a one-stop shop for small business. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we were able to recreate something like that in Lakeland? And kind of walked away from it and thinking we're not sure what's going to happen with that. But we picked up that conversation, and in 2017, business leaders came together and decided to have a structural and philosophical change in what our Lakeland Chamber Foundation did. Typically, we had given small grants to local nonprofits, but we thought it would be more effective if we were to concentrate on things that would actually help support businesses and grow them within our community. So our shift is focused into 3 different areas, which is business education, pipeline development, and workforce development. Early in 2018, the foundation launched several new programs which help reinforce the need for a facility with state-of-the-art technology that would be accessible not just to our chamber businesses, but also to all businesses and individuals in our community. And we've also since changed our mission statement, which I think fits well with what we're doing. We are to serve as a catalyst for business success, a convener of leaders and influencers, and a champion for our thriving community. And I will have Darla come up and do a little bit more.
I think I was taller than you, but in heels, I guess I am. So the Works Business Resource Center is going to be the signature program for the foundation. That was kind of the original creation for what it came behind. And when they brought me on board, we didn't really know exactly what the foundation was going to look like. So I went around town and I met with over 80 C-suite executives, and I asked them, what has the chamber been to you? What does the chamber need to be to you? And what are some key programs and initiatives that we could bring to this community that would be helpful? And that's where a lot of what we're doing going forward came from, is directly from those people that are in those leadership positions at our local community businesses. So the goals for this Business Resource Center are to, number one, foster collaboration amongst organizations. We have a lot of wonderful business support organizations that exist here, but they don't work synonymously together, and a lot of times they end up overlapping duties and overlapping programs. So if we can put them all in one space and have a center director that can help to encourage collaboration amongst them, so where they're covering all their bases but not duplicating efforts, I think that would be a wonderful step in the right direction for making sure that all of the businesses receive all of the educational resources that could be available to them. The second thing is we want to provide state-of-the-art amenities. A lot of these programs either don't, a lot of these organizations that we're going to house either don't currently have offices or they rent out small ones. So access to large meeting spaces is a big issue for them. So we want to provide state-of-the-art technology center as well as large meeting spaces that also provide the ability to utilize technology. And with this state of the current pandemic and Zoom and all of these virtual meetings being such a huge necessity, this center will provide the ability to do that well. Additionally, we're going to enhance the city's redevelopment opportunities on the western edge of downtown by establishing the new type of destination development. So obviously in that area there's not much that has been being built, but we hope to spurn additional developments, and with the Bonnet Springs Park also going on over in that vicinity, we'll help to kind of re-spurn additional developments and build that up. We're going to provide ease of access. Right now we have very limited parking and limited meeting space, and so we'll have almost 70 parking spaces right there in our own parking lot, as well as accommodations that can seat up to 250 people banquet style. Also, we're going to house the Visitors Information Bureau, which is going to serve as an inviting front door to the city of Lakeland. We have that kind of right now, but we really want to amp it up and provide some additional technology and technologically advanced features that can help to really show what Lakeland has to offer. Additionally, it was kind of planned that this would happen a whole lot sooner, but the one benefit that it provided us, and the fact that it didn't, is it allowed us to provide a proof of concept. So we went ahead and launched many of the programs that we kind of already had in our back pocket that we thought that this center would hold, and we did them at the capacity in which we had due to space. And this, what we found is overwhelmingly a wonderful response. Every single one of our programs has been full to capacity and had waiting lists. And so the program started about 2.5 years ago, and we have a management training program that has had 6 sessions and 162 people have been served. We've had 2 different types of that now, where the first one seeks to educate mid-level managers, or people that have experience but not necessarily managing people. So it helps them brush up those skills to make sure that those are relevant. And we also have an advanced level management training that are for those that are moving into director or C-suite level positions. New Business 101 is a course that we offer to all of those who are within their thought processing stages all the way to in their first year of business. We've had 9 sessions of that, and 143 businesses have participated. One of our first participants is actually very active in the chamber now, and he's given grave reviews and sent a wonderful number of people to participate. And he says, everybody who wants to start a business should have to participate in something like this before they do it. I can't tell you the amount of money it saved me not doing things that I thought were necessary, and it allowed me to streamline my process. We've also provided low-cost QuickBooks and other seminar trainings, and those have had 3 classes of QuickBooks and 2 other series with 117 participants. We've been really limited because we don't have a technology lab. So we had to have people bring in their own laptops and borrow them, and we piecemealed it together and it worked well, but there's so much more that we can do in that avenue. We also have an early decision orientation program, which is to hope to create a pipeline to keep our top level talent from our local universities right here in Lakeland. And then we have some additional ideas as far as a business 201, 301, and 401 that we are going to create. And that's for people within the life cycle of their business. So 2 to 5 years would be grouped together, people that are in 5 to 10, and then those in 10 year plus. And all of the education will be tailored directly towards kind of the things that they're experiencing. So spatial constraints are really our biggest issue, and also the people that are going to come in and also have offices in here have the same thing. So that's our hope, is if we can provide a collaborative environment with lots of space so we can do this, we can amp up the level of education we're providing.
And I just want to talk quickly about some of the projects that we're going to be working on and programs in collaboration with the city. These are things that have been near and dear to my heart, and I'm really excited that this facility will allow us to take some of the things that we've offered to the next level, including we tried to come up with a great acronym. We came up with VET. That was the best we could do. Veteran Entrepreneurship Training. It's going to offer education programs to veterans, service disabled veterans, reservists, active duty, and as well as military military family members who are interested in learning entrepreneurial skills and starting business ventures. We're going to have things like business plan workshops, concept assignments, mentorship, financial education, and things like that. So we're really excited about being able to launch that program. Another thing that kind of dovetails off of our Athena Awards, which is coming up this week, shameless plug, but we want to have a women's business center that offers one-on-one counseling and training and networking and collaboration amongst businesses and professional business women in our community. And you look at, I just listed up there for both of these, some of the potential partners we could have on these programs, because this is not just going to be the chamber doing this. This is why this building is going to be focused on collaboration. We want our partners to be able to take the lead on a lot of these, but provide this venue for them to be able to be successful. Quickly, we have our LEAP program, which is our Lakeland Employment Assistance Program. This is going to work in conjunction with our Prosperity Polk Initiative, which many of you have heard me speak about, which we're going to get more involved with as we go on this year. You'll be hearing more in the spring about that. We're going to work on creating certification programs and partnerships with businesses and nonprofits in our community to address the gaps that we hear about in terms of employment. So that way, if a business is considering coming to our area and we find there's a gap in that type of employment, we'll be able to partner with partners like Polk State College and some of our other institutions, Travis, to be able to get certifications for these individuals. And as part of the Prosperity Polk Initiative, we are focusing on certain zip codes where they may have high rates of poverty. The two we're looking at right now are 33805 and 33815. That if you look at those 18 and younger, they have at or near 50% poverty rates. So we're really excited about this, and we'll be doing this in partnership with our foundation so that we'll be able to go after grants for these training programs. And finally, another one that I'm incredibly excited about that works with our Prosperity Polk Initiative is our Minority Business Accelerator. This is going to work on creating a lot of mentorship opportunities to make sure our minority businesses are prepared and successful in things, being able to partner with large corporations on procurement processes and opportunities, and make them be able to be competitive in the marketplace. And you can see the list. I know Dr. Sally is very excited about having her endeavor at the Well be a part of this and be actively involved, but we have several other wonderful partners in the community that we are excited about having involved in this. And now we get to the good stuff, which is, we're almost done, but this is what I think everybody really wants to see. This is our rendering from our partners Strawn Trout. We're very excited about the way this facility looks and what it's going to be able to do for this section of property located just north of RP funding. If everybody knows where the Oxford Lumber Building is currently, that's exactly where this is going to sit, and this is what it's going to look like. It's going to stretch between Lemon and Main, and I think this is what, the southeast corner that you're looking from Lemon at the facility. So I think, Darla, you've got a couple more.
This is just to give you the highlights of what it's going to include. Originally, we talked about a 15,000 square foot. After sitting down with our architect and Rada Construction, who will be our builder in this, it's determined it's going to be about a 17,000 square foot facility to house all the things that we need. It's going to have a dividable event hall, which can seat 200 people banquet style or 320 theater style, and it can divide into 3 smaller rooms to accommodate multiple events. It'll have a visitors information bureau that will be the front door of our center as well, 25 bay technology center, a 40-seat boardroom, 10 different conference spaces within the facility, a catering kitchen, as well as 20 offices and an executive suite. So there'll be plenty of space for everyone to host all of their events. I'll go to the next one.
And most of those offices are occupied by the people providing service?
Yes, it's actually about 8 of the offices will be chamber, and the other 12 are for the partners that will be located within the center. And one of the most important things is we took several different factors from in-plan, as well as using forecast models from the National Entrepreneur Center, which we're based off of. And for every dollar that's invested in the Works Business Resource Center, there'll be a $9.16 return to the community in total economic output. And these are just a few facts as far as the job growth rate and how many more people will need to receive business education. There'll be 10 plus business support organizations that will also be housed in the facility. And we estimate about 22,600 people will come through the facility for training or events each year. So we just want to thank this will show you a little bit more if you're not familiar with the area. But we can't thank the city enough for your consideration and for your partnership on this project. We think it's going to be a wonderful addition to business education here in the community.
And right next door to the Intermodal Transportation Center that'll be forthcoming. Excellent presentation. Thank you so much for that random availability. Anything else you'd like to say?
As fast as we possibly could. Does anybody have any questions for us?
I have a question.
Commissioner Walker?
And I know we've had many conversations, you and I, Mr. Skates.
We have.
And I'm thinking, I applaud the efforts moving forward. And of course, I know now you're involved in fundraising, trying to make it happen.
Right.
But what are you having any particular dates that you've kind of in your minds or thought you and your board as to when we can probably see some of this come about? Or
Yeah, we're thinking it's probably going to be a couple-year process. We're hoping to do most of the fundraising in this next year. I think by the end of third quarter, of next year, having the fundraising portion where we want it to be so that we can start construction. So you're looking at probably late 22, 23 would be my guess.
Okay. Well, again, and I appreciate the collaboration. That,
Absolutely.
you know, from what I know the Orlando market area has done, and to see how we can bring it forth, of course, for the Lakeland market and our surrounding communities as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
We have a man in the room who spent decades on the commission and as a mayor who I think it would be valuable to just kind of in former Mayor Gal Fields, in having you come up, if you don't mind, sir, and just to provide some comments on what you have seen and the need for this and the overview. And I know you've worked alongside the chamber a lot, but I think getting your perspective would be terrific.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mayor, much. I will start with saying thank you to your staff for working with us, particularly Nicole. She's been extremely patient with me in particular. And she will be assertive on representing the city's interests. But I do want to give you this perspective. When I came on the commission in, was that May of '92, the city had been making plans for what might happen with this strip some 10 or plus years prior to that. But positioning itself as it had an opportunity to purchase different parcels, but not knowing what might happen. And to see where we are today, this is truly a blessing to enter into a partnership with the city and the Chamber Foundation to do something unique and extraordinary for our community. You know, having an opportunity to do something that's really missing, not just here, but all across America. We've not done a good job in the business community making sure people understand how does our economic system work and work well in this country. Those that engage in business understand it, but many others that are the customers do not. And we're going to have a chance to do business education in a way that we really have not before. We're going to be able to add value to business owners in a way that you heard Darla talk about, because we went and asked business people here in the community, what should your chamber be? And this is going to allow us in this partnership with the city to transform what we do and be of greater value to the businesses in the community and to those that aspire to be in business as well. And you don't have to be a chamber member to access the resource. It is going to allow all the other organizations in the community to share in the programming that they offer one another, so that if someone's a member of the Hispanic Chamber, they can benefit from what's going on with the African American Chamber or with what NABO has to offer, because everyone will be able to share with one another without having to compete with each other. So it's going to allow a higher level of collaboration and deliver a great deal more value to our people. And that's the kind of partnership I know the city is interested in, and we're all going to benefit greatly from it. So thank you again for your patience with us and working with us through it. And to Nicole and Elise, we want to say a special thank you to you all as well for helping us to get to this point. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate that. Any other comments from the audience? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That unanimously passes for both items on the Real Estate and Transportation Committee. Thank you very much. That brings us to the consent agenda, and the items on the consent agenda include the minutes as well as under 8C, item 1. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
By Commissioner Walker and a second by Commissioner McCarley. Discussion by commissioners? Any discussion by the audience? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. We cease meeting as a commission and now meet as an equalization board. We will have a presentation on for the equalization hearing on lots and clearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Notice is hereby given that assessments have been entered against the lots and parcels of land as set forth on the agenda as provided in Chapter 86 of the Code of the City of Lakeland, Florida. Said assessments being payable within 30 days with an interest at the rate of 8% per annum as hereinafter specifically set forth. In layman's terms, if you have received a notice to appear today relating to the city cutting or cleaning your property, this is your opportunity to ask any questions you might have relating to that or express your objections to the City Commission.
Is there anyone in the room that is in that arena of wanting to complain about any of these items that are on the Equalization Board's list? Seeing none, is there a motion?
To approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Walker.
Second.
A second by Commissioner McCarley. Discussion by commissioners. Any discussion by the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. That ceases our meeting as an Equalization Board. We return as a commission and go to public hearings, item 3.
Thank you. We have one ordinance for second reading, public hearing, and consideration of adoption today. That is proposed ordinance number 20-040, an ordinance of the City of Lakeland, Florida relating to pole attachments, making findings, amending ordinance 4899 as amended to establish rates for wireless communication facilities on city poles, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move approval.
There's a motion for approval of Commissioner Walker and a second by
Second.
Commissioner McLeod. Discussion by commissioners. And we did a great deal of this in our agenda study. Any discussion by the audience on this point? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Aye. So it unanimously passes. That brings us to our city manager comments.
Thank you, Mr.
5A, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commissioners, I have 2 bid awards for presentation this afternoon. The first is regarding a bid award to Specialized Property Services Incorporated for repainting various waterproofing repairs, sealants, and pedestrian coating replacements at the Lakeland Police Department. On July 16, 2020, the City of Lakeland issued a request for bids for repainting various waterproofing repairs, sealants, and pedestrian coating replacements at the Lakeland Police Department located at 219 North Massachusetts Avenue. The project includes performing minor repairs, cleaning, priming, and repainting the building and components, as well as the pedestrian traffic coatings, miscellaneous sealant replacements, and waterproofing repairs. The city's purchasing department received 9 bids. City staff, together with the city's engineering consulting firm, PSI Intertech, reviewed the bids, provided a corresponding letter of recommendation, and confirmed the scope of work complies with project requirements. Following a notice of intent to award to the lowest responsive bidder, that company withdrew their bid, citing a lack of capacity to complete the project. City staff and the engineering consultant then conducted a second evaluation of the next 2 lowest bids submitted, contacted references, and determined Specialized Property Services Incorporated to be the most responsive bidder based on positive references and a scope of work that fulfills the project requirements. Funding for this is provided in the facility CIP for fiscal year 2021. It is recommended that the City Commission authorize the award of bid number 0226 to Specialized Property Services and authorize the appropriate city officials to execute the contract in the amount of $78,247.
So moved.
There's a motion to approve by Commissioner Reed. And a second by Commissioner McCarley. Discussion by commissioners? Any discussion by the audience or comments? All right, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Unanimously passes.
The next item is regarding a bid award to EnviroBuild LLC for HVAC replacement and History and Culture Center interior renovations at the City of Lakeland's main public library. On June 29, 2020, the city's purchasing division issued a request for bids for HVAC replacement and History and Cultural Center interior renovations at the City of Lakeland's main public library. This project originally was budgeted as two separate construction projects and included the HVAC replacement for approximately 34,000 square feet of the main library and related work to that. Also, interior renovation to construct the Lakeland History and Cultural Center. Due to the current downtimes and as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, city staff, together with the city's architectural firm, STA Architects, requested a revised schedule of values based on a new combination of project phases. This new project phasing plan reduced the project duration by 75 days and generated a savings of $60,328, resulting in a new lowest total bid amount of $1,899,471. This amount breaks down to the HVAC replacement project total of $1,623,323, and then the Cultural Center interior renovation is in the amount of $276,148. City staff, together with the city's architectural firm, reviewed the revised bids. The initial lowest bidder was determined to be non-responsive, but the second lowest bidder, EnviroBuild LLC, met all project requirements. Subsequently, a notice of intent to award was issued by the city's purchasing department on October 23, 2020 to EnviroBuild LLC. Funding for this is provided in the FY21 budget. It is recommended that the City Commission authorize the award of bid number 0212 to EnviroBuild LLC for HVAC replacement and History and Cultural Center interior renovations at the City of Lakeland's main public library, and authorize the appropriate city officials to execute the contract in the amount stated.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Walker, and a second by Commissioner Madden. This included the breakdown that Commissioner Franklin asked for on Friday. Any comments or questions by commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to my fellow colleagues. And of course, I'm glad to see that we did, and asking the staff to share the breakdown between the total cost of the HVAC system, of course, with, has to deal with the renovation, of course, of the library for the cultural center. So you see those two figures there, of course, they're there before us and to be approved today. But in addition, of course, I make sure that you all understand, I think I've shared it many times, and we'll share it again today. In addition to that $276,148 for the build out of the actual culture center, still there's an additional $150,000 that we are doing a fundraiser for to take care of the interior design of the culture center. This $276,000 is just to build the actual center itself, which be encased inside the library, the main library here downtown. But we still need an additional $150,000 to make sure we have what we need inside the center for its interior design, and that's fundraising has begun already. You'll be hearing more about that in a few weeks to come as our marketing piece goes out, as we make sure people understand the difference.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Anybody in the audience at all? Okay, this is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Also unanimously passes. That brings us back to our city attorney under ordinances, first reading.
We have 3 ordinances for first reading. They'll be read by title only today, and these will all come back for second reading with public hearing and consideration of adoption on November 16th. The first is proposed ordinance number 20-041, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, providing for LD, limited development zoning on approximately 10.9 acres located at 1055 Ariana Street, providing conditions, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing an effective date. The second ordinance is proposed ordinance number 20-042, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, approving a conditional use to allow a 150-foot tall ground-mounted personal wireless services facility, a cell tower, on property located at 1055 Ariana Street, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date. And the final ordinance is proposed ordinance number 20-043, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, relating to the purchasing of goods and services, making findings, establishing competitive selection thresholds, providing for the granting of a preference to local businesses for the procurement of personal property and contractual services under certain conditions, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Once again, those will all come back on November 16th for public hearing and consideration of adoption.
Thank you. Resolutions?
One resolution for consideration today, proposed resolution number 20-048, and a resolution relating to assessments, determining the necessity for having cleaned and cleared certain properties within the City of Lakeland, providing for the assessment of liens against such property for expenses incurred in the cleaning and clearing thereof, providing an effective date.
There's a motion to approve. Commissioner Franklin, and the second by Commissioner McLeod. Discussion by commissioners. This is the equalization hearing that we just approved earlier. Hearing none. Any by the audience? All right. Those in favor, this is a voice vote, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes. C, miscellaneous reports.
The legal fee report is just presented for your information. No action is required, and so I will just stand for any questions you might have on that.
Are there any that we did not discuss already on Friday? All right. Any questions by the audience on the legal fee report at all? These are the services that are not beyond the scope of our legal department, but need to be handled either because of expertise or load by other parties as well. All right.
Next item is a program agreement between the city and Bentley Services Systems, Inc. Ramona Siriani will present this item.
Good afternoon. Ramona Siriani from the City Attorney's Office. We have a renewal agreement, a select program agreement for software services with Bentley Systems, Inc. This is a software agreement for engineering, service, maintenance, and support licenses that is used by multiple departments in the city for city assets such as roads, electric, water, and wastewater utilities. The existing agreement is set to expire on November 30th. The term of the agreement will be for a period of 12 months, and that would be effective December 1st, 2020. The total expenses associated with the agreement are $111,848.40 for the 12-month term, and the item is budgeted in Department of Information Technology's FY 2021 budget. We'd ask for your favorable approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Was there a motion to approve? I'm sorry. I missed it. Commissioner McCarley, and a second? Commissioner Walker. Okay, discussion by commissioners. None? Any discussion by the audience? All right. This is a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Also unanimously passes. Item 3.
The next item is related to a deed restriction on 1110 Lake Hollingsworth Drive. This is a property that is the first vacant property you come to as you're moving from Florida Southern College counterclockwise around the lake. There are a number of houses actually on the lake shore there, and this is the first vacant property you come to moving in that direction. This was a property that the city of Lakeland used to own, and in 1945 the city sold the property to a private party subject to a deed restriction which prohibited any building on the property other than a boathouse or docks on the waterfront. Since that time, the property has been sold several times to various owners, and the current owner purchased the property in October of 2018 for $100 according to the property appraiser's records, and the property currently has a listed assessed value according to the property appraiser of $100. Consistent with that, no taxes are currently being paid on the property. The reason why this is coming to you today is that there is a state law called the Marketable Record Title Act, which extinguishes older interests like this unless they are renewed by the recording of a notice in the public records. The city did renew its deed restriction against this property on November 21st of 1990. under the Marketable Record Title Act, or MARTA. That notice preserved the city's deed restriction for a period of 30 years. So that deed restriction is now coming due for extinguishment on November 21st of this year, unless a new notice is recorded. A new notice is recorded in the public records extending the duration of that deed restriction. As you know, we have a provision in our land development code that currently prohibits any kind of development within 500 feet of the shore of any lake that's surrounded by a collector roadway, including Lake Hollingsworth. So this deed restriction is consistent with that current provision in our land development code. And also, with a deed restriction, you always retain the discretion to release that if you feel like that's what you want to do at any particular time. Under the Marketable Record Title Act, if you don't renew this restriction on or before November 21st, you're going to lose that option by recording a new notice in the public records. You're going to retain that flexibility with respect to this property. So because of both the land development code provision and just the more options you have with respect to the property, we're recommending that you authorize staff to record a notice in the public records extending this deed restriction.
Thank you very much for the explanation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Walker. Is a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Franklin. Discussion by commissioners. Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a couple questions. I had one for Commissioner Reed. You left before our discussion on Friday. I know part of the conversation is with regard to the assessed value. It's saying $100. And it was my understanding that when you look up properties and the property appraiser, there could be a set value attached to a property that doesn't necessarily equal the assessed value, or even what the person might have paid for it, or if they inherited it. Number one, could you speak to that? And then secondly, I do want to remind my colleagues that the owner of this property did come to us and talk to us about a storm drain that was on this property, and in the mind of the landowner, the storm drain was the reason for the restriction of building. Now, I know since then, we have a later law that says that we can't build within 500 feet of the shore, but the property that we're talking about is next to, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I don't know how many homes, and it seemed to be a part of that same kind of subdivision that was allowed to build on the lake in the 80s or 90s. This one was not able to be built upon in the mind of this landowner because of the storm drain. So when he purchased the property, he moved the storm drain and thought when he moved the storm drain and went through all that expense that he would then be able to be cleared of the deed restriction against the build. So to me, with Burt Harris and Florida being very sensitive to property owner rights, I will be voting against the renewal of the deed restriction. I do think that even though it seems that it might be consistent with land code of building within 500 feet, because it's in close proximity to these other landowners who were all able to be built upon, and this one only wasn't because of the storm drain, that now at the cost of the landowner to move that storm drain, thinking that that was removing the restriction, I won't be voting in favor of the renewal of the deed. I think that's taking away the rights of this property owner. But I would like Commissioner Reed to speak to the assessed value, because that's one of the things that we're saying here, that we're not taking away the value of his property by this deed restriction of not being able to build, because the property owner must have somehow known this, only paying $100. I don't know if the property owner paid $100 or paid $1 million, but that's what it says at the property appraiser's office.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. There again, Palmer may be a better example than this, but from my understanding, of course, I've looked this up myself, and it looks like it's a misprint from the county up there, because it looks like somebody paid $335,000 for the lakefront lot and $135,000 for the house across the street, which is substantially a greater value. And of course, they do have it assessed at zero for some reason, and then the house is assessed at $400 and something thousand. Only somebody paid $135,000 for that. But there again, just because your tax rolls say it's worth something doesn't necessarily mean that's what you paid for it. invariably, I think all of us have experienced something. I've had a house that was, I would have loved to sold it for the tax value when it wasn't worth that much in the past. But it's a unique situation that it does show a value of somebody. If I have a $100 value on that particular property. Again, my question was if it looks like I go by dock stamps is what typically goes by the purchase price. And so you've got $100 worth of dock stamps, which would have showed that, and of course, I know if I sell a property from one of my companies to another company, I don't have dock stamps, so I just, typically it's a $100 fee. And that's usually what it does. So it seems like it was from one entity to another, as opposed to otherwise, if it weren't a true sale, the state's being defrauded of some tax. So and I don't know if I understand this property may be under some kind of litigation per se, I'm not sure. But there again, this is somewhat unique, and I'm almost at the point where I would make a motion to table this for a while to really get down to the bottom of that. This lawsuit would be over too. So we wouldn't show favoritism towards one party or the other if it is a lawsuit. There again, I'm going to defer back to the mayor to see where we go from here. So I'm sure I think the owner's here that he may want to have some comments, but he'll get his chance in a few minutes.
Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner McLeod.
Of those parcels, do we know if others were owned by the city at some point as well, Palmer?
We checked on that and could not find anything as far back as we were able to look of the city owning that. So that the fact that the city owned this property, gave the city the opportunity to impose a deed restriction when it sold this.
Okay, that's helpful. I didn't know if they were part of, if the city had owned multiple and we had a deed restriction for just one. But if the city owned that one only, then that's a different situation.
And with respect to what was paid for the property, Florida law requires you to pay documentary stamp taxes based on how much you paid for the property. If you look at the deed that the current owner of the property, by which the current owner of the property acquired the property, it indicates that documentary stamp taxes in the amount of 70 cents were paid for the property. And what Florida law says is that you pay 70 cents per $100 worth of value for the property. So that indicates that the current property owner paid the minimum amount. In other words, there was no consideration paid for the property. The property was originally joined with property across Lake Hollingsworth Drive, and then it was split apart. So the deed that indicates it was $300,000 and change was paid for it was for both the property on the other side of the road as well as this property, if that helps any.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I may, also to the question about the assessed value, from my 11 years working at the property appraiser's office and previously had a license as a real estate appraiser, I can tell you that oftentimes if there's property that for whatever reason, restrictions such as what's being talked about today that basically renders the property to have no value because of that, they will list it with a $100 value just so it stays on the inventory roll, but in a sense generates no taxes. There's a lot of property, for instance, down near River Ranch where there's no access to it. It's wet, but it had a parcel ID assigned to it, and so you'll find a similar situation on those properties as well. So Commissioner Madden, to your question, I think that's probably why you see the $100 value assessment from the property appraiser's office.
Commissioner Reed, did you have something else?
Yes. I'm done.
Oh, you're done. Okay, I'm sorry. Commissioner Walker.
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm hearing what I think I heard Commissioner Reed mention, and that is about some of the litigation situations going on now with the property, or with the property having some. Say what now? There's litigation at this point.
Well, that's what I had heard. There may be some litigation.
Are we aware of anything like that, City Attorney?
I've heard rumors of private litigation. I have no idea whether
Nothing to
that's
do with
true or not, but the city is involved in a quiet title action. The property owner has filed a quiet title action against the city to test the validity of the deed restriction.
Okay, now we knew that all a while ago. I knew that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Franklin.
So just so I understand, with respect to Commissioner Reed's suggestion of maybe tabling this, but by default, if we don't take action, Palmer, by the 21st, we forfeit our rights.
Correct.
That's correct.
If we don't vote on this today.
Correct.
A no vote is a vote, in a sense.
Right, okay.
And if, hold on, I have another question.
Commissioner Walker.
And if it should pass, we still have the right to do some things even after that. Am I saying that correct?
That's correct. I mean, if you felt at some point it's appropriate to lift that deed restriction, you have that right.
Still have that right, okay.
Any other comments by commissioners? Any comments by the audience?
Hi, Mark McDonald. Thank you, Commission, Mayor, City Manager, Palmer. There's a lot of things that were just discussed here, and it's like an onion, so we got to peel it back slowly. First and foremost, the deed restriction that was put on this property back in 1945 did have to do with the storm drain. It's real simple. Unfortunately, the city kicked the can down the road for the last 50 years, pretending that the storm drain was active. It wasn't. I presented all the documentation, which Tim McCausland at that time said it didn't matter what I presented to him, I wasn't going to get the property. Nevertheless, if Palmer looks back at his documentation with the paperwork that was filed November of 1990, he'll also notice it was refiled again in 2017 by Tim McCausland, which actually validates the 30-year window that you needed to meet. Why he's wanting to do it again, not really sure. How I found out about this on Friday, to know that I'm here Monday, 3 days later, to deal with this, when there is legal action going on, Mr. Mayor knows he was served at his house. So everybody knows there's a legal battle here. There's other stuff going on behind the scenes, some things that can be validated at your time of leisure, some things that had to be brought up to the chief of police. There's a lot of harassment going on, bad stuff happening in our community, and I can't stand for it anymore, and I'm going to continue to litigate and fight for this. With regards to the storm drain, you guys have legal counsel, not Palmer. You retained legal counsel, a real estate attorney at best, that could be here to help explain some of this. But the Cliff Note version of MARTA is that when you have a deed restriction, as you guys put on my property, you had to have an interest in the property. To this day, 2 years after I purchased the property, a year after I stood up here and went through this before, I met with everybody, with the exception of Franklin, who would not meet with me in person.
We spoke on the phone.
We did, and I numerously called you back and tried to set up an appointment to meet in person, but we didn't meet. And it wasn't until a meeting that I had with Bill Mutz asking me to sell my property to Bob Adams where I initiated this downward spiral. I met with everybody. Some of you know the details of it, some of you don't. There's 3 people in this room that I have issues with now, personally, because of horrible things that are being said to me, to my family, and the harassment that I'm getting is unbearable. Now, I will say this. If Palmer, the mayor, or any of you can tell me what the interest that the city has in my property, I'm willing to listen. But the interest for the city, for me to push my property back into the hands of somebody else because they call and harass you and don't want anybody to build next to them, it doesn't work that way in the real world. That being said, I apologize to you guys now, but this is going to be a long, long battle, and a few names will be tarnished down this road. I promise you that. Now, with regards to Stephanie, Commissioner Madden, I appreciate you standing up and giving your opinions to the commission on Friday. Shocked, I haven't met you, Chad, but I was shocked with the battle of the words with regards to $100 here, $100 there. Thank you, city manager. He's aware of what the processes are at the property appraisal. If anybody wants validation or anything to do with threats and harassment, reach out to Chief Garcia. Anything to do with property appraisals, I met with the assistant director, Karen Price, today. She'll explain it to you in detail too, how it works. With regards to the 70 cents that Palmer's speaking up, that's because there was a mishap by the Landry Group and Smart Title and Keller Williams and whatever they do. I'm not a title company. I'm not a realtor. That's their code of ethics. They did their job, they messed up, and they had to retract and transfer the warranty deed in my name. I didn't pay $100 for a piece of property on Lake Hollingsworth. That would be insane. Most people know that's crazy. I paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you read the deed that the city of Lakeland imposed in 1945, the city of Lakeland is financially responsible for every bit of maintenance on that lot for 70 years. I spent tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars, which I will get back because you neglected to do anything about it. That lot had been wooded for 45 years. Miss Madden lives on Palmola, along with dozens of other people that have never had lake views in 45 years. I'm embarrassed to be here right now. I'm embarrassed for the commission, and I'm really embarrassed for the legal and the stuff that's happening amongst three of you and outside parties. All I can tell you, my lot isn't for sale, and I'm going to fight till the end, no matter how much money and how long it takes. But I promise you one thing, the truth will prevail, because unfortunately, there's been nothing but a lack of integrity, mistruths, and lies amongst many of you. And it's going to stop here. The downfall to what's been going on over the last year of the harassment, all parties involved with me, every step of the way with this property, are people that either A, have been employed by Bill Mutz for the last 20 years, or it might be somebody that works with one of you right now, could be employees at the city right now, or past employees or contractors of the city. I can assure you that everyone that's involved in this situation with me in code enforcement has been witnessing and seeing this, and it's disturbing to them. Some people are scared of their own job securities. That's not my problem. But the truth will come out, and it's really damning and disturbing for many, many, many people. And I thought that with this legal battle that we're having, it would be addressed and put to bed. You cannot have a B without an A, and the interest is the A. And if Palmer right now can tell us, Palmer, can you share with us what the interest of my property is?
Sure.
What is
It's
the interest?
consistent with the land development.
What is,
The
listen to me.
land development code expresses the city's interest in.
Okay, Palmer, listen, the land development code has nothing to do, zero to do with MARTA, okay? The land development code came out of the 90s when GIS was available. So the land development code is a separate issue. Scott Franklin brought this up to y'all's attention the last time. I thought, and I appreciate that a year ago, Scott, I thought that someone would latch on to that and understand the truth behind that. It was perfect. I can't build a house without going through the land development code, right?
No. Let me finish what I was going to say. I'll explain it.
Okay.
All right. The land development code expresses the city's policy that they do not want development on the lake shore of Lake Hollingsworth. It's the same interest that was expressed in the deed that was given in 1945. There's two separate paragraphs in that deed from 1945. There's one that reserves a stormwater easement over the property, and then there's a completely separate paragraph that makes no mention of a stormwater easement that says there should be no development on the property, except for boat houses or docks, which is, I mean, certainly reasonable to assume that the city intended to protect the view shed of Lake Hollingsworth.
Sure. Okay. MARTA does not protect it that way. It doesn't work that way. So that's why I have MARTA specialists that are going to educate everybody in court. You have to have an interest, and it's not the land development code. That's not the interest. The interest is, with MARTA, is that you have to have an easement. With the easement, you can't build. That's the interest. The city has an interest. That's why when I cleared my interest, or the city's interest, that's why all the utilities signed off on it. Because there's no, actually, there hasn't been an active drain since the 60s. It's a mess. unfortunately, I'm not expecting to sway votes here. This has nothing to do with me trying to get you to not do this. Because again, if Palmer looks at his paperwork, this was already done in 2017. You've already validated it for the next 30 years. I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about is since he's pushing his basis off of MARTA, which again, MARTA's in my favor, not his, that's 712.05 and 06. I'm continuing to move forward with the lawsuit, as you know. We've now added 712.08, which this will be the third time that a false and fictitious claim to property has been filed. In addition to that, once this vote is counted, I would like to also bring to the attention, and I'm very serious about this one for the understanding, because what Palmer says and what he does and how he educates you has no basis, zero grounds for how you seven are affected. Because all he can do is give you information, whether it's true or not. Doesn't matter. You are all policymakers. You are all held by something called 42-1983. In this case, some of you know and some of you don't know, when you go about vindictively or purposely trying to hold a property hostage from my rights as a citizen and as one of your constituents, it's going to be a hard battle for the city, but most importantly, each one of you are individually responsible as a policymaker to make sure that you're doing your job, protecting my rights. He's not elected. You guys are elected officials. It would be nice to have elected officials that either A, have knowledge of what's going on, or B, surround yourself with people that do. And if you don't, the last year, you had a year to figure out what's important and what's not important. And this isn't important to a lot of you. I understand. You all have your own busy day going on. This is important to me because all I have done is continuously improved the quality of life in Lakeland from properties I purchase. Whether I'm flipping a house and cleaning it up in a impoverished area, or I'm buying a commercial building and trying to, add jobs. The problem is that there's a lack of integrity, a lack of honesty, and I never would have thought corruption until it was voiced to me directly from the horse's mouth about 3 individuals here. So this is a problem that I can't correct and fix here today, but I don't want anybody afterwards to tell me that I haven't, because when I met with each of you, except for Scott Franklin personally, one-on-one, but on the phone, I expressed to each one of you, I never wanted this to get legal. I wanted this resolved. I begged for you guys not to do this. But if you choose this, you can't go backwards and say, oh, woulda, shoulda, coulda, I wish I didn't do it this way. Or, I didn't know that these 2 people were doing stuff behind closed doors with these people. It's a mess. It's a mess. And lines were crossed the day that Bob Adams decided to push his other friends and family into other corners to go harass some of my friends and family. It's a problem. And I encourage you. I know that this, and again, Palmer, hitting it the month of 1990 to the month of 2020 is not the way it works. But nevertheless, maybe you should sideline this for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. 1 week. You could do it for 1 week so that maybe some of you could reach out to some people and maybe validate and verify what I say. Maybe talk to your legal counsel that you retained. Maybe talk to Chief Garcia about the harassment that he's been notified about. Off the record real quick, I don't think we're allowed to just pull out guns and shoot animals out of trees in the city limits. Are we?
No.
Okay. Y'all might want to talk to Chief Garcia about that. Because when neighbors employ people to come to my private property and shoot animals out of my property and then lay the bodies of dead animals stacked on top of each other in my property, no, it doesn't work that way, y'all. I think that you should sideline this for about a week and think about this. Because there's a lot of issues at hand, and you coming into a once-a-month deal or a twice-a-month deal to try to gather all the information and make a judgment call that, at this point, it's going to negatively affect each one of your lives. Because I promise you this, on top of the state statutes, which you have violated. You're about ready to cross a federal one. And every ounce of my energy and every penny of my pocketbook is going to go to this to prove right from wrong. And that's what it's about. We're supposed to be bridging gaps. I mean, this whole year, the whole 4 years has been nothing but hatred and hatred. I mean, nobody should endure racial slurs, right? Racism's horrible. I'm not saying that somebody's a racist for saying the N-word. I think it's just sick. I think when someone uses profanity in the way that educated business professionals should be, is sickening. So it's about humanity, common good, and the lack thereof. And if I can do anything in my power, it's to make change, not be combative, not go after false hopes. But I would encourage you to either really, really, really think hard about your decision, because the decision, what you make today, it's a moot point to me, because I'm going down a different path to solve this problem. I'm just trying to help you guys realize that you're getting mixed information, and the person that's giving it to you is not responsible nor accountable for his actions. You are. And you have to understand what a policymaker is and what your job is. And it's not just believing everything face value. Sometimes you have to do a little digging, a little heart searching and mind searching. And again, I think that you should sideline this for a week, but it doesn't really matter to me. I just want you guys to all know that once this action takes place today, there is not and will not be a 360 reversal. There's not, hey, let's make a deal. It's past that point, because that was a year ago, and here we are a year later, and I don't think you get it. I think there's something stuck in some of your minds about, I never really understood how powerful people can be with money, but it's important to know that everything that I have said and everything that I do has been witnessed, documented, whether it's all forms of documentation, but there's nothing that I'm saying that will not be proven. And it's going to be at that point somebody to clean up the mess they've made, not me. I'm just here to bring the truth out, and I hoped that people would be truthful, but they're not. But I appreciate your time. Sorry I kind of went down this road because I hated to do it this way. And again, just to clear things up, I mean, it's ridiculous to think that anybody would spend $100 for a lot, an almost 1 acre lot on Lake Collingsworth. And just so you know, for my own peace of mind, that lot has been appraised numerous times. And I've done it from my own peace of mind, and I've done it to share with people so that people understand that a 1 acre lot on the shore of Lake Hollingsworth is upwards of $1 million in value, not $100. And the reason, again, it said $100, as the city manager pointed out, is that there was a mishap from Smart Title and Keller Williams when they did the title work, or did the warranty deed. And it was immediately transferred from one party to the next because Tim McCausland in 2017 filed that paperwork because he found out that the owner of the house was going to be foreclosed on in short sale. So he was trying to get that lot to be scooped back up for the city's purposes, not knowing that there was already an arrangement with me. So that was the purpose of the 2017 filing by Tim McCausland. And again, I hope that you guys will make the right decisions. And I appreciate your time. And that's it. Thanks.
Are there any other comments from the audience? Then I'm going to certainly respond to what you said. To create an inference that anyone benefits from this economically or has been part of any kind of a conspiracy whatsoever or a formed plan to keep you from having this is insulting. And I personally want you to know that my comment to you with Bob Adams was a solutions. No, you're done. I've listened. Okay. My comment to you was a solution for you to consider, not a direction to do. That's for you. That's for you. Because my comment to you was, if you're interested in that and not keeping the land, then your strategic buyer would be the person next door, which is Bob Adams. That doesn't mean that's something you should pursue. That's up to you. But I can certainly tell you on my part, there's not been an iota of plan or direction from any human being with respect to this lot other than our consideration of the consistency with land code and the direction of MARTA from my perspective. And I would certainly be shocked if it were true of anybody else on the commission. So if you want to contrive those things are true, that's your business. If you want to prove them, that'll be your responsibility. And we'll stand that clearly. And so I have that if it was a veiled threat, it certainly isn't one to me. And I doubt it would be to anyone else. Now, I'd like to stay focused instead on whether or not this is something that we support because it's consistent with what the city legal counsel, who we do follow, and Tim McCausland was part of that process after the 2017 with us, with me anyway, with respect to the consistency of MARTA. So it's a mixed signal for you to even say that. I have no inconsistency on this whatsoever. And I certainly will not accept any responsibility for any other inference. Any other comments, Commissioner Reed?
I have two questions for Palmer. There again, I'm not familiar with MARTA, whatever. And there again, from what I'm perceiving, there's two strikes against the property: development code and deed restrictions. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct.
Can you explain the relationship between MARTA and the development code then?
I agree with Mr. McDonald that they are two separate things. I don't agree that the interest reflected in the land development code and the interest reflected in the deed restriction are two separate things. I think the interest, the reason for the policy in the land development code is to protect the viewshed of Lake Hansworth, and I think that's also the interest that was reflected in that deed restriction that was put on the deed in 1945.
So if you lift the deed restriction, the development code still applies.
Well, there are two different legal consequences to that, though. One, the deed restriction is a property interest, and in my opinion, the city has, possibly a stronger position with that property interest. I think it has a strong position with respect to the land development code as well, but I think the land development code is susceptible to a inverse condemnation action, where someone would say, hey, you've taken away all use of my property, and therefore you need to pay me for the just value of my property. However, the deed restriction was something that everyone was aware of or should have been aware of was on that property from the beginning, and it affects, as we discussed, I think, last fall, the reasonable expectations, investment-backed expectations of the purchasers of that property, that you're not getting a value for that property. And I think that is why, once again, you're seeing that $100 value on the property appraiser's records, because there's a deed restriction on the property as well as a regulatory restriction on the property that takes away the buildable value of that property.
There again, I have a question of Mr. McDonald. There again, I can't understand why you would have allowed to have a $100 dock stamps placed against the property when you paid substantially more for the property as your statement. It's irrelevant, but I just...
No, I want to say this real quick because it's important. I didn't do any of that paperwork. When I found out that was again...
You still would have had to pay the dock stamps.
I've already, again, this is the county, the property appraiser in Bartow, and I have had this conversation. They're waiting for me to work out the legal side of this. They're aware of it. They're aware that there was an incorrect warranty deed that was transferred, because what happened was, as Palmer made a point to make out, was that there was a short sale of a house, as you know, Jacqueline's house. The problem with it is that somehow somebody decided to incorporate two parcels of a person's property into one. When I found that out, I had a contract already signed. I purchased the lot for hundreds of thousands of dollars. When I found that out, and they were short selling her house, and I found out that it was being done at Smart Title, I went up there with documentation from the Polk County Courthouse, and the lawyer at the time, the lawyer that handled that, she's passed now, Beth Harlan, and also I had the documentation from the bank that said that this lot had no connection to this house. They tried to incorporate the sale, which everybody was aware, everyone in the city, Bob Adams, Tim McCausland. That's why that paperwork was filed, that's stamped on the side of that paperwork.
Well, obviously, at one point in time, it had to have been separated. There had to have been a sale of that property to somebody. It had to have been you. Didn't it? Is that a fair statement? You?
I purchased it from Jacqueline, correct. But the arrangements of how I purchased it and for what dollar amount I purchased it at and how that's going to translate to stamps and the money, that's between myself and the property appraiser and what's going on with that paperwork.
Should be between you and the state, actually.
Well, it's with the property appraiser because there are stamps on that. Now, with regards to, again, the property, it is what it is. I mean, I purchased it free and clear, and someone says, why would you purchase something that can't be built on? As the city manager said, and his experience will tell you, the reason there's a $100 value on it, just so you know that people don't come up with values. They're assumed because of like a stable, and then for the property appraiser, they use $100. That's what they do, okay? They used it because of one reason only. Why? Because the city of Lakeland imposed a deed restriction. When you have a deed restriction, it's $100. That's the value. They round up. And the reason I paid 70 cents, or 70 cents was shown on the warranty deed that was filed, why? It's because if you read the warranty deed, it was done for $10. That's why. But as the city manager said, there's a minimum. And when it's 70 cents on $100, and the $100 is the minimum, it's 70 cents. So based on that, that's true, based on the numbers they were turned in. Was it true and correct from me? I did not buy the property from the Landry Group. There's been associations that people try to tell me that I am the Landry Group. I'm not. That's a husband and wife on the north side of Lakeland that's a pediatric dentist. Has nothing to do with me. When they made the mistake, they transferred it by warranty deed into my name. That is it. If people are interested on the transaction of how I bought this property, you can reach out to Brush and Coil, downtown Lakeland. They handled it. They have the legal paperwork. They have everything. But nobody's ever asked me for that. I mean, some people have because they're upset, because they think that they got shafted, because they wanted the property. There's 5 people in the city that want the property, and they didn't get it. Matter of fact, they were never offered the property, and they never would have got the property. And that's what you have to overcome. It's an ego complex.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And let me share with you, sir, why I empathize with what you're dealing with. I'm like the mayor. I don't have any dealings with any of this personally myself at all. And for you to say that you think some of us are in collusion with something, I don't. Well, if you know, you should have said that, I think, because you can't put me in the mix of, sir, I'm talking, please. You put me in the mix of something that you think 3 of us or 4 of us, whatever you said, and I'm going by what my city attorney, who we pay well to represent us. I'm not a legal person. I have to depend on what he tells me and what city manager, who gets paid very well, tell me, and I have to trust at least a bit about what they're telling me, because they do the work. I set the policies like you just said, and I'm going on what was shared, and that's all. Nothing else.
Period.
That's all I can do. And we go from there. And it's unfortunate, maybe because of all the other things you mentioned, but it's not unfortunate for me to make sure I can rule from this particular place based on what has been presented to me from my legal representation to tell me how we should best do things involving city situations. And that's what I have to do.
Commissioner Mann.
Yes, so I think it's, the reason I'm, voting no is, we didn't have the land code until the 90s. after, you know, the Adams and everyone else built on the lake, I'm assuming, because they all were allowed to build on the lake. So we must not have had this provision about the 500. So to say that the 1945 deed restriction is in concert with the 1990s don't build within 500 feet doesn't make any sense to me, because there's lots of building between 1945 and the land code in the 90s on a body of water. So to me, in my mind, that deed restriction was for that storm drain. And when the storm drain was removed by the property owner paying all those things, to me it set his property free, and he should have the opportunity to build along with the rest of the other people who were able to build in the 90s. And so, you know, I feel like he feels like, you know, he is being somehow, you know, conspiracy against him, you know, that he, you know, wouldn't be able to build when all of those other property owners in that same segment of land were able to build in the 90s. So, you know, whatever the other properties in the city of Lakeland that fall under the land code since the 90s, I feel like this is a unique property because of that 1945 deed restriction and the storm drain. If there was no storm drain there, you know, then I think then I would, you know, be like, no, we don't build on lake shores in the city of Lakeland anymore. But because he did at his own expense pay for that lot, remove the storm drain, which in the deed was specified as for rationale, you know, as to why, you know, you couldn't build on that property, I feel like we're on the edge with Burt Harris laws. You know, in the state of Florida, like I said, is very, very pro property rights. And so for that reason, I can't, in good conscience, renew this warranty deed when the storm drain has been removed.
Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have time, Palmer, to, if we were to table this, to vote on November 16th? Is that, I mean, are we up against, we have to take action today to be able to meet that November 21st deadline?
It would be tight. It's possible. I mean, there's a requirement to record the notice in the public records, and then the clerk has to send out notice to the property owner. So it would be tight, but it is possible.
Yeah, there are a number of things that, Mr. McDonald, you've mentioned that, you know, I was not on the commission. I wasn't here last year. Certainly wasn't here during Tim McCausland's tenure. The only people I have spoken to about this are the city manager and Palmer Davis. I do, you know, Commissioner Madden, you bring up some good points. I feel like I could use a little more time to get my hands around some of it. If we vote today, I mean, I would vote to continue the deed restriction, knowing, as Commissioner Walker pointed out and Palmer confirmed, that we have the ability to rescind it at any time. I do think you could make an argument that the city has an interest in the shores of Lake Hollingsworth. But I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Madden, and I think when I first heard about this, I started to struggle with the rights of a property owner versus the interest of the city, and I do want to make sure that we take that seriously. But if there's time to table it, I would support that. If we have to take action today, then I would vote to continue the restriction.
Commissioner Franklin.
Just for my clarification, Palmer, I was under the impression that the drain issue and then also the land use were both part of this that have been documented for decades. And this, you know, now this talk of the 90s, I mean, none of these houses were built in the 90s. Even the ones that are newer were built in place of other houses. Yeah. I mean, they replaced other homes that had been there, I would imagine, even back to 1945. Because even the Bob Adams house we're talking about was the Engel household before. There's another home that was there previously. But when did that language come about as far as protecting the views, the view shed?
It actually, you know, I don't know when it was originally imposed, but actually, if you look at the city code, similar languages in that, and it references 1960. The only difference between that and the language in the land development code is that the language that goes all, goes all the way back to the 1960s, gives the city commission the authority to permit a structure to be built in that area, whereas the new language in the land development code only allows city structures to be built in that area. But actually, the language protecting the shores of Lake Hollingsworth goes back to at least 1960.
1960.
1960.
All right. So I mean, we're talking
45.
still, but I mean, if I'm understanding you correctly, though, for the last 60 years, it's been common knowledge that the city of Lakeland's position is that there would be no more development of homes along the shorelines of Lake Hollingsworth.
It's on the books. I don't know how common it is, but it's definitely part of the city code.
Other comments from commissioners? my comments would be that if we vote for this positively, it doesn't impact our ability to reverse it later.
Exactly.
We've talked about this for well over a year. We've had this as an issue for over a year. We've asked our legal counsel to pursue it for a year. It's consistent with our land development code because we can reverse it. If we had the need to, that's what we could and should do. We don't get ourselves in a timing configuration between the 16th and the 21st that could occur otherwise. And so from my perspective, we don't void any flexibility, but we protect the intent of the code and the 60 years and longer of the deed restriction. So that's it from input side. Commissioner Reed.
If it passes, he still has the right to go to court and.
Sure. In fact, based on the things said, I hope he does.
Yeah.
I hope he does. I'd welcome it because defamation of character is not a biggie on my list. Especially when I know how hard we all work against that. Especially when I know the intent of trying to solve problems on this commission's part, not to create problems. So, any other comments from commissioners? All right, this is a roll call vote. No, it's not. It's a voice vote, isn't it? Yeah, it's a voice vote. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
So that is a 5 to 2, right? All right, it passes. Next item.
All right, the next item is the consideration of the city manager's employment agreement. Mr. Sherrouse was selected as the new city manager pending negotiation of a contract for his employment, and that is what you have before you for consideration today. To just go through the key terms of that agreement, it provides for the agreement provides for a base salary of $196,000, which is consistent with the advertised salary range for the position, which was $196,000 to $215,000. Provides for the same health, disability, and insurance benefits as other city employees that are not subject to a collective bargaining agreement. Provides for the accrual of vacation at the rate of 20 days per year. Provides the same vehicle allowance as is provided for other department heads and other executives of the city, which is $5,400 per year. Mr. Sherrouse participates in the city's Plan C pension plan, and this contract provides that in the event that for whatever reason he doesn't reach the vesting timeline under Plan C of the pension plan, he has the option of using his military pension to purchase the additional time necessary to vest in the city's plan. The contract provides that Mr. Sherrouse can be terminated for cause by a majority vote of the city commission in accordance with the city's charter. That would require a public hearing at his request, actually, if he wanted that prior to terminating him for cause. For any termination for other than cause, Mr. Sherrouse would be entitled to severance pay equal to 20 weeks of compensation. In the event of a voluntary resignation, at least 30 days notice must be provided to the city. Outside employment is authorized only with the permission of the city commission and only if it will not cause interference or conflict of interest with his city responsibilities. The agreement provides that Mr. Sherrouse must reside within the corporate limits of the city of Lakeland and conduct his private life in a manner so as to favorably always reflect upon the image of the city of Lakeland. Almost all of those terms, with the exception of the terms relating to the pension or salary, are contained in the previous contract that the city had with Tony Delgado, and that's recommended for your approval.
Motion to approve?
Second. Motion to approve, and is there a second?
Second.
And a resounding second, I might add. All right, discussion by commissioners. Commissioner Reed.
He doesn't get a free cell phone?
No, he does have a cell phone allowance in this.
There is, yes, that is one of the.
It's in there, so thank you for checking. Any other comments from commissioners? Any comments by the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. It enthusiastically and unanimously passes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, if I may. I just want to thank again the commission, as I did on Friday, for the process and for the support that I received from each of you and from the community throughout this. I'm excited to work alongside your city staff to serve this city commission, and in doing so, serving the community for the great days that are ahead. So I'm just excited. It's an honor of a lifetime, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Awesome. Commissioner Franklin.
Just make a comment on that. I do hope you think too, Sean, that by us going out, as we've discussed before, it was not a reflection on whether we thought you were up to the task. It was, I think it just, if anything, it should make you feel confident that you know we've gone out there and looked across the whole country and taken the best that could be brought to bear, and you rose to the top of that list. So if I were in your position, I would feel even better about the fact that you got the job for us having gone through that process, and I hope that's how you look at it.
I absolutely do. I learned a lot through the process, and made a lot of commitments that I will uphold as I move forward as the city manager. So I do appreciate the process very much. I think it was good for the community to have a part in that as well.
Hear, hear. Excellent. Commissioner McLeod.
We look to see your email signature changed by tomorrow if you have not yet.
Yeah. Good point. And he can move into the office now, right? All right.
From a different office.
We want to have you in the right place. All right. Let's see. That is the end of that section. We do not have a report from our finance director, but appreciate his presence. And the utility committee had two other items that they recommended today that we'd like to take a look at.
Ramona Sirianni from the City Attorney's Office. The first item from the utility portion of the agenda is a second amendment to the lease agreement for a 992K wheel loader with Caterpillar Financial Services Corporation. We have an existing 5-year agreement with Caterpillar that is set to expire on November 20th for the wheel loader. In order to move forward and taking in consideration the potential decommissioning of Unit 3, staff has looked into trying to convert a long-term lease into a month-to-month lease in order to move the coal at the plant, and this is the only type of equipment that can do that job. Consistent with what we currently pay, the month-to-month rate for the leasing of the equipment will not change. The total is $45,182.37 per month. The total annual cost, if we should exercise that for a year, is $542,188.44, and that is included in Lakeland Electric's FY21 fuel budget, and we do reserve the right to terminate the month-to-month lease just upon 15 days prior written notice. This received a favorable recommendation from the Utility Committee earlier today, and we'd ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second? From Commissioner McCarley and a second by Commissioner Franklin. Discussion by commissioners. Any discussion by the audience? The patient LE audience? All right.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes, Commissioner Reed.
What we could do if Unit 3 is shut down and we're not doing coal, we still pay the fee if we're sitting on the property?
Well, the issue is the coal, the existing coal that's already at the plant that's still, even if we were to decommission the unit within the next month, 2 months, 3 months, you still would have to be able to move that coal at some point. So that's the reason for being able to have the equipment out there. It's the only type of equipment that can move that large amount of quantity of coal.
And 100,000 tons that are still to come.
Do we keep that machine inside?
I don't believe, I wish we had a picture of it because it's a massive machine.
I think you ought to
I don't think there's a place big enough for it.
Outside, right?
It's outside, yeah.
Any other comments from commissioners? None from the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes.
The second item is a change order with General Electric for bearing failure repair on Macintosh Unit 3. The Unit 3 main boiler feed pump turbine low pressure bearing suffered an unexpected catastrophic failure in May of this year, and upon inspection, there was severe contamination of the oil system and damage to other components within the unit, within the main turbine generator and boiler feed turbine. In accordance with the city's emergency procurement policies, General Electric was contacted for the repair, as they are the original equipment manufacturer. And based on the recommendation of General Electric and the estimate of $1,798,147. The city manager back in June approved that emergency purchase order. However, upon further work and inspection, it was determined that Unit 3 had additional issues that needed to be resolved. So the final cost of the repair work performed by GE totals $2,499,694.74. That is the reason for coming before you today to ask for a change order in the amount of $701,547.74 to be issued. That amount is included in Lakeland Electric's FY21 budget, and this did receive a favorable recommendation from the Utility Committee earlier this afternoon, and we would ask for your approval.
It's a motion to approve.
Move approval.
From Commissioner Walker and a second from Commissioner McLeod. Discussion by commissioners. This is an inevitability, unfortunately. Discussion by the audience. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Unanimously passes as well.
That's all I had.
Thank you very much, Mr. Allen. This gives us the opportunity from anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment. This is your 5-minute moment to be able to do so. If somebody has any comments they'd like to share. Seeing none, this allows the city commissioners to be able to make any comments they would like to make.
I want to see Jim before he leaves, though. I need to see you, Jim, before you leave.
Jim, if you can stay here in the building, yes, thank you. Any comments by commissioners? Commissioner McCarley, Franklin.
I just want to verify a rumor I'd heard. My understanding is our city manager has to make a trip over to Auburndale in a little bit.
I understand that as well.
I do. I am there tonight to receive a commendation from the city of Auburndale at 7 o'clock, which is a thrill.
The rumor has it it's Sean Strauss Day in Auburndale.
They're pretty proud of the product they produced.
Is there a street going to be named after you in Auburndale, Sean?
It's the Bobby Green Circle at the end.
Rename it,
it's the Sean Strauss Circle at the end of the Bobby Green Drive. Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. We do have someone here that needs to speak to you under the audience portion.
Okay, I'm sorry.
For the equalization portion, we were
they
waiting
here
to
earlier?
see. They are here, so we just pulled their the statement that they received from the city. It is on the rolls, and I'll let Mr. Williams.
Sure, come on out.
You want to come at this time? Thank you for allowing us to.
Well,
They didn't realize that this was the
You're here,
moment to
so
do
we'd
that.
be happy to accommodate that. If you want to, would you rather sit down?
You rather sit, Mr. Williams?
Okay. Okay. It's the getting up that's the hard part, isn't it?
Nicole, what's the address so I can look it up?
Thank you. There's a chair to your right. Yeah.
This is 2056 West Elliott Street.
Elliott Street.
Page 5.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got it. (26 U.S. Elliott, Freddie West).
What's the address, Stephanie?
2060 West.
I know it's Elliott Street, but
2060.
2050, okay.
2060.
2060,
Go
all
ahead.
right.
Go ahead, just speak into that little mic right in front of you. See it in the air?
Oh, I had some land and it was getting it clean and everything, and so I was keeping it clean. And in July, I paid over $70,000 to get it clean, and so last month I got a letter that something about me owing something, and I don't know nothing about it.
So, Mr. Danny, can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about, yeah, but see, because I had they had given me one where it said the case was closed, and then I had everything was cleaned up, and I got that.
Good afternoon, Jim Daney, Code Enforcement Manager. For the record, Mr. Williams had come before you previously, and you had waived the charges because of illegal dumping, and that's actually what started the whole discussion about illegal dumping back at the beginning of last year. At this time, though, the property was only cited for the grass to be cut because of overgrowth. There was no illegal dumping, and you could tell that by reference the cutting cost of $80. Normally, as you see on others, there's an extensive amount of money for cleaning it up. The only thing that I will let you know is that I believe that the $200 nuisance abatement fee should be waived, but this is not for illegal dumping or dumping of any material. It's just for cutting the grass.
But he has it's in balance of $1,000 and some dollars.
It's $550 here.
I think I need to look into the rest of it because this is the first time I've been dealing with this one, with this particular. I don't know. It might be more than just this case, but this case right now is $445, but that includes a $200 nuisance abatement fee, which is added. If we cut a property, if we do it again within a year, there's a $100 nuisance abatement fee, and then it's a rolling year. So every year, every time we cut it after then, for the rolling nuisance abatement fee, it's $200. So if we cut it within 12 months, it's $200. If we cut it again within 12 months, it's $200. So every time, that's what the nuisance abatement fee is, which you all authorized, and that's why we're at $445.
Hey, but I got a yard man that cut my lot twice a month. And I don't know where they go in there talking about they cut it.
Unfortunately, I don't have access to our system to show you photos, and I don't know if that would work anyway, but I would appreciate it. Maybe just remove it from the roll.
We'll remove it.
And let us get with Mr. Williams and see if he can take a look at the photos.
Do we need a formal motion to do that, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Sure do.
I make a motion we remove it from the actual role that we have already voted on until further investigation and research been done.
Second.
Okay, and a second was whose? Commissioner Reed. Discussion by commissioners.
I can make a comment. I'm sorry to step out, but I know this is the area where we had the dumping done, which, like you said, started a conversation. But I thought, if I'm not mistaken, help me out, Mr. Daney, I thought he did do some cutting, I thought, after that.
Commissioner Walker, he did, yes, sir. The problem is it hasn't been continuously maintained.
Okay.
The signs that we put there have,
Right.
as we discussed previously, have worked well. I mean, they're really doing their job down there for what we paid for them.
Right.
But this has nothing to do with illegal dumping or
I got you.
debris. It's all for grass cutting.
Right, maintenance, I got you.
All right, any other discussion by commissioners on this? None from the audience? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That vote represents both the Equalization Board as well as the commission. Correct? All right. Thank you, and thank you for being here, and I'm sorry we didn't know you were here earlier for that purpose. I'm going to slow down a little more. Okay. Maybe we ought to throw it up on the screen. All right, commissioners who would like to share. Commissioner McCarley.
I would just like to say I want everybody to vote if you haven't done so tomorrow, and wish the best of luck to my colleague who is on the ballot, because I think putting your name on a ballot is always brave.
Very.
And we're very proud to know and work with him, so we're real excited for him and send good wishes and prayers his way. And also, just on another note, really quick, the History Center in Polk County has an exhibit right now from the Smithsonian until December we'll say the 10th. And it's called Voices and Votes. And a little bragging point, my senior in high school has been highlighted on that Smithsonian video, and it's a nationally touring exhibit. And she got to vote in her first election. Week before last, we went to Simpson Park. Kudos to Simpson Park's polling location, by the way. There was no line. It was awesome. And they made a big deal about her first vote, which mortified her and thrilled me. So, yay, voting.
Very good. Commissioner Franklin, any comments? Commissioner Mann.
Thank you, Mayor. So I did want to give a short highlight of the summit meeting, since I feel like I need to talk about it as much as possible to keep y'all up to speed. So it was a great meeting. I came in virtually, but they all met here in the commission chambers. The first conversation, Sean did a great job to facilitate everyone and get everyone kind of on the same page. We started out, with the digital divide, knowing that we had, conversations with folks who really want to do some pilot programs right away. They seemed very open to hear ideas, but no concrete plans or anything to unroll, immediately. They did say that they would like to have more information, like maybe census data, particular zip codes or areas that are maybe target areas. And that when they put everything into their model with their business plan, they're going to incorporate, their business and commercial and their residential, and then that sort of helps them factor in what they can do, with regard to digital divide. They are not necessarily a Wi-Fi, solution. They are the fiber to the premises solution. So that's what they're going to be hoping to get large penetration. They also have an E-rate initiative, which is kind of their digital divide, which is predominantly at schools. And so they have, partnered with schools to help them get their speed and capacity. We did discuss the 72 fiber strand assumption. That was something that we all knew was part of their assumption when they gave us their RFP proposal. And so we did have discussion about that. What do they actually need? The absolute minimum that they need is 12 strands, but certainly anything in excess of that gives them higher end solutions for the clients that they want to serve. Their goal would be to have access to all of our fiber plus overbuild. They're going to need to overbuild what we have in order to do what they'd like to do here. Certainly ours is a backbone, and they're going to the premises, so they're doing that last mile, so they're going to be building out a lot of fiber anyway. They talked about where we might have deficiencies with regard to the number of strands that they need, and that would be in the central business district, what we call the downtown core. Certainly that is used for our traffic ops and for city services, and so that will probably be one area where they will have to overbuild. Talked about how you overbuild. 85% of our fiber is aerial, but the fiber downtown is predominantly underground. So that's a different overbuild than an overbuild on an aerial cable. And so, they kind of talked about that. Talked about things like, doing a little microfiber into the conduit, under the ground, not disturbing what's already there, but adding to it. And if there's room, and they, going to have discussions with our engineers to find out more about that. Also, it was a question about ownership. Ellie owns the fiber. What does joint ownership look like? Or is it a long-term lease agreement? Joel did say that going forward, when we extend our fiber to like the new substation in Bridgewater, that there could be a potential for Ellie pulling the fiber that they require, and then Summit being able to add to as we do that build out. And then there could be some kind of a joint agreement, for those new developments and new neighborhoods. They asked about where our aerial fiber is, if it's in the power space or the communication space, because that makes a big difference on how they get to it and how they overbuild. Most of it is in the communication space, particularly in the last 15 years, but certainly some of those legacy lines are in the power space, and they'd have to go on a case-by-case basis with that. They talked about what our current fiber is used for. We talked about our 75 city buildings and substations and 225 intersections that we have with FDOT to do our traffic, and our Polk County schools that we already kind of have run fiber to the schools. And so we kind of talked about when we were initially doing our fiber strand build out, the trajectory was kind of like we started with 24 count, then went to 48 count, and now when we have some state projects and stuff, we'll have that 96 count fiber, but when you take all of that and average, that's where we get kind of more of that 48 count in each fiber. Of course, which I said 12 is like the bare necessity. Anything over that, helps them, do what they need to do, and helps us, be able to let them come in on our fiber that we have if we have more strands. Certainly in the outskirts of town, and like I said, the new neighborhoods will have a lot more fiber available for them. And so then where do they start? Where do they make their business plan? And so it was determined that there would have to be some kind of audit. Our IT team said that they would not be able to do this audit by themselves. That would take a lot. And so that would be something we worked with their contractor. They use the same contractor throughout the state of Florida. And it sounded like their contractor would be getting with our IT team and working on a way to audit, particularly in the core downtown area, since it seems like that might be where we're stretched with not having as much fiber, as the other areas. Joel was going to get with the engineers to analyze what overlash or overbuild on our aerial fiber would look like with regard to attachment fees, security concerns. That was a big part of the discussion, security concerns when you lease the fiber and you attach to the fiber. Do they have access to, when they have access to our fiber, do they have access to our data? And, in the meeting, which I'm sure will be codified through legal agreements, it was when they splice, they do not share any raw fiber that's being used for city services. So they're like different strands of your hair. If city's on one, they wouldn't go onto that fiber. They would go on to others.
What would they do in Bill Reed's case?
He's got some hair right there. I think they could figure it out. They have to overbuild on that. Like extensions.
Good answer.
One thing we said, so I know Sean had said, what can we do to help facilitate, as a partnership, how is this going to be different than if we didn't have a partnership and you were just coming into Lakeland? And one of the things they asked about was a blanket permit. And Joel said that it certainly makes sense. If you have a legacy provider and they're adding incrementally, it's like a week-by-week permit based on where they're adding on. But if you're coming with a business plan and a model and, you already have had audit of where our fiber is and where you're going to do your build-out, then they can do more of a blanket permit and look at traffic management and pull attachments and any make-ready, within that vicinity. And that would help streamline their process. They could kind of get all of that permitted in advance. Talked about other things that are impediments to build out. That's if you're in city ROI versus private RO, right away. And if it's in a private, then they would have to reach out to them, and get an easement or extend an easement to be able to go into those areas. Also, railroad crossings take another permit and another strand, which is time and money for them. So it's good for them to know that in advance, how to plan. So the other thing is that, to be able to see where our fiber is, they need access to our GIS database. They were looking kind of for an easy button as re-export, if they can just have the information, but that would take some kind of a legal document that Palmer would need to work on with regard to, a non-disclosure. And so I think legal team's going to be looking into something like a non-disclosure to give them access to that information. I think, the IT team is going to be looking in, working with them on the audit. Also, I think Palmer's going to be working on some kind of joint agreement like they use with the existing dark fiber leases to say, how would this partnership work? Does it look like what's similar to our current leases and what's a little different from our current leases? And I think, that really sums up kind of the initial questionings and concerns. And it was sort of tricky to get started. Like, everyone wants to get started, but there's still these unknowns. And I feel like we were able to take some action items, and then we have a meeting a week from Monday. We kind of gave a 2-week time frame to give us all some accountability so that this doesn't go on indefinitely and have another week upon week before anyone can get started. So I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but I'm assuming that the legal team and the IT team and the summit team are having, contacts and formulating some of these things, and we'll find out more next Monday.
Excellent update. Thank you.
And then the two other quick things is that it's the FMEA conference, and I know we didn't get to go to the Breakers this summer. I'm really disappointed about, but we have a virtual conference this week that I'm attending.
It's almost
and
like the
it's
Breakers.
awesome. You know, the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Energy, you know, getting to hear her this morning. And every day this week from 10 to 12:30, I'll be watching all of that to, you know, stay up to speed for everything Florida Municipal Electric Association. And then I'm excited, even though we're not having our Veterans Day Parade on Saturday, which I know, you know, Commissioner Franklin and the mayor, you know, we've been able to ride on the fire truck and do all that. But my children in the CAR will be leading the pledge, and we will be there for, they're going to have a memorial dedication. So that if you want to celebrate, you know, veterans and be a part and are sad that there's no parade, there still is a 10 a.m. It's mainly the Rotaries are coming together to have an event on Saturday to make that monument dedication. So it's at Veterans Park at 10 o'clock. So, and we'd love to have everyone come out.
Commissioner Reed.
I'm listening. I have nothing to say other than
He's passing.
please get out and vote.
Good job. Commissioner McLeod.
Very quickly, just wanted to mention, I know we all got the email from Chris Ann Long, Bridge Local, about the small business listening sessions that she and Corey from the Chamber are hosting over the next 2 months. And their goal is to have one of us attend at least one of the meetings individually. So if we can do that, I think, you know, I had talked to Chris Ann a couple months ago about just, she really wanted to try and pull together small business owners and get feedback on, one, how they're doing, coming at the end of 2020, what their needs are going into next year, but then also those who, as we've talked about with local vendor preferences and people who want to do business with the city or might be a candidate for that, but aren't necessarily in the loop or up to speed on the process, how that can improve. So I just wanted to put in a plug for that if you haven't responded yet. That's all.
I'm in. But if you definitely aren't going to do one, let me know, because I'll take your slot too. But I do think it's good for all of us to do that. Commissioner Walker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two things, if I could please. Next week, we'll be having the hybrid kind of a session with Florida League of Cities. It's the legislative conference that we have every year in November, usually even around the election time, which of course it is tomorrow in this case. And it's going to be a hybrid kind of approach this year where there's some of us be in person, and those who just don't feel like they're ready to come out yet will be able to attend virtual. I think we have, if I'm not mistaken, as I heard from our CEO, who's now, you know, is Jeannie Gardner, is the one that's in charge now. You know, Mike Siddick has been there for about almost 50 years, and Jeannie came along here the last couple of years as his assistant, and now she is at the helm. I think we have about maybe, I think a couple of hundred, if that may be the number, that plan to be in person. When usually, you know, as you all have attended, usually hundreds in attendance. But that's next week, on next Thursday and Friday. As you know, incoming president next year, and I'm hoping that I could see at least one of my other colleagues, I won't call the name right now, come along after I'm done here the next couple of years or so, and continue to keep Lakeland in the forefront. Lakeland's always been, as I know of, in my right now almost 11 years of serving as dais, always had someone in leadership at the League of Cities. So we can't let that not continue. I'll put it like that.
Thank you for filling our void now.
And of course, that's next week, and then the following week is the National League of Cities Summit. Now that's been done virtual. It would have been hosted in Tampa, Florida this year. It was the state of Florida's term to host the national meeting this time around. But of course, due to the pandemic situation, it's going to be a virtual meeting as well. So we'll make sure you all know about that. So I'll be in attendance, of course. Make sure Lakeland is shining, smiling, representing Lakeland. And we always get the good kudos. You know, they talk about Lakeland all the time. I've never seen in a meeting, and for those of you who have been there, Lakeland always get bragged on about how well we have an organized and well managed machine here, but that's because of the good staff we have, and thank God we do have that. And of course, as we as policymakers, making sure that everything's done right to keep a city like Lakeland on a shining hill. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that update, and you're absolutely right, and we need to continue to fulfill your legacy. I want to talk, since we're all together, I sent earlier through Tracy a Lakeland Leads update, and I want to make sure, because then if you have any questions, we can really do it right now, because we're together. This is wonderful. And so this is an outgrowth of that original product, and then an attempt to come back to see if there's a broad enough interest with other people to continue into the next year of finding what kinds of changes we can make to improve education on a more accelerated basis alongside working with Polk County Public Schools. So it's not anything apart from. And if there wasn't enough interest from other parties, then maybe the Lakeland Leads groups lets it drop. But I don't think that's going to be the concern. The concern, and City Manager Strauss and I attended the meeting, on our part was that it was a pretty aggressive first step request as a total, but at a half level, we would be more interested in that 5-year commitment. So the goal between LE and the City of Lakeland was $50,000 each, $100,000 as a total for 5 years each. So we haven't budgeted that money in our budget. It's available to be able to use out of a discretionary budget, but when we talked about strategic planning, that was never anything as part of the request because it wasn't finalized at that point. Lakeland Electric has generously said that they would do their $25,000, and because our city manager can make that decision and allocate those funds, what I really wanted to do was not have us do that and not have us be part of that thought process, and so that's the weighing in here. For that investment, when we know that the number one reason many times people don't want to move to our city is the school ratings, and knowing that we can, as a city, at least take a piece of the responsibility to help fund the process of improving that. And I have a whole Lakeland Leads book, if you haven't seen it, that I can absolutely pass around and give to you with the results in it. My recommendation would be that we authorize our city manager to do that. Yes.
I think, first of all, thank you for attending that. I've had a few meetings with him over the last couple of years, and Kate Wallace, who's sort of steering the ship as a staffer. One of the things that I think COVID has really highlighted for me, and I was already on the education train, obviously you've heard me speak about it when I campaigned, it was about supporting the education system and how we can have our kids come back if they go away to school or they go to trade school and they come back and help build Lakeland. And have a bright future here. So education to me is an underpinning backbone of the economic development of our community. And so I think it's a wise investment and it would be a good return, because if we work on it in consensus and collaboratively across the board between business, the educational system, and us as policymakers, I feel like that we can put a dent into some of what you just acknowledged, that it's hard to recruit physicians here. It's hard to recruit other businesses here when our public school system, it's hard to get into a magnet school and it's hard to get into a charter school. Unless you're here and you put your young children on a list before they're in kindergarten, you cannot have the access to some of those A schools. We have other public schools that are A's, and we have a lot of private schools that are A's. But when you're trying to recruit talent into the community and they only see, and I'm not a proponent of the grading system of our public schools, but that's what we have, and that's when people Google living in Lakeland and they have children that are school age, that's what pops up, is it shows that. And I think to improve our economy and to broaden it and to also underpin the Lift Lakeland initiatives that we have, where we all vocalized and the community has vocalized support for the education system, that I'm highly encouraged by this process. I would like the city to be a participant in it. But I think it's vital to the future of our community. And I like that we continue to talk about vocational resources as well. This is not just post-secondary that looks like undergrad, that we are including all facets of education and career pathways for our kids through academies and through everything else. So I'm glad you all went. I was thrilled to see that email that you and our city manager were able to attend that meeting, and I think it's an exciting time.
Commissioner Madden.
I just wondered if you could give us just a couple highlights from the meeting. It said that was phase 1, and phase 1 was research.
Yes, so the research that's been done is really to talk about that they want to hire someone that can direct this going forward next year, and an associate, so 2 people. But they, there's, in the executive summary, about 56% of Lakeland High School graduates immediately enrolled in a Florida institution of higher learning the fall after graduation, while more than 63% did that on a statewide level. That's a difference. 1 in 4 applicants is accepted in a Lakeland charter school, 1 in 5 into a magnet school. So that absence of need and what do we create? Not that we necessarily create our own system like Wales has done, or even the PAC. Is there, that was done in Winter Haven, is there some methodology that we can do working together, assigning businesses with schools, and creating programs that really would work alongside a lot of our Lakeland initiatives as well, as part of that? And I don't know that we, in year 2 or 3, wouldn't want to up our numbers in the support of this, but I think at a $50,000 level jointly, it's doable. The executive summary, if you want me to highlight it, I can very fast.
I would, but
Is that all right?
I mean, so then you're paying for.
Okay, sure, exactly.
It's not an email.
We trail our Florida peers. If Lakeland's 48 traditional and charter schools were their own district apart from other Polk County schools, it would rank 42nd. About 54.7% of students attend an A- or B, or an A or B rated school statewide. 66% in the state attend one. About 15% of Lakeland schools are failing statewide. 5% are. It is impossible for a Lakeland child to attend an A-rated public school from K to 12th without enrolling in either a district, magnet, or charter school, most of which have long waiting lists. Lakeland has no A-rated neighborhood public middle or high schools. Of 23 neighborhood public elementary schools, 3 are A-rated. Less than 13% of Lakeland's graduating class of 2017 was eligible for Florida Bright Futures, which covers 75 to 100% of tuition. Statewide, 18%. Less than 6% of graduating seniors from 3 Lakeland neighborhood public high schools matriculated into one of Florida's 12 public universities. Across Lakeland, 14% did in Lakeland, and 20% did statewide. So the recommendations is to hire a nationally renowned independent consultant specializing in school district best practices to conduct a thorough top-down review of district operations, to examine how well district assets of money, human capital, and time are aligned with the meeting district priorities and student needs, and produce a detailed report with recommendations for improvements. The district has not had a review of a similar scope since 2002. Make all public school and district academic, finance, and school climate indicator metrics accessible and transparent to the public. Boosting public access and understanding of school performance data. No parent or citizen should have to comb through complex spreadsheets or reports to understand how their child's school is performing, and it should be posted annually on every school's website. And then develop a robust portfolio model of public schools in Lakeland, comprised of a balanced menu of high-quality neighborhood public schools, district-operated magnet schools, independent charter schools, and district-authorized schools of innovation. This is a pro-public education and parent-friendly model embraced by cities all over the country, from Indianapolis to Charleston to Miami to Kansas City. A portfolio model can effectively address parent demands for more public school options, create more classroom autonomy for teachers and principals, and encourage the incubation of high-quality, innovative educational models. And that's the start to get going. And the investment then is for next year. Yes, Chad.
So if I understand correctly, we're not taking this for a vote, and it's just, I would like to spend a little more time with that. And I've heard bits and pieces about Lakeland Leads over the past 2 years, but I've never really had a chance to sit down with all of it or hear what the vision is. So I would like that. I know I'd reached out to Sean just to get his thoughts since he was in the meeting. I like what I hear so far, but that is the first that I'm hearing of what the details are.
Sure, so we wouldn't have to do any funding unless, if you want to do this by a vote, which we could do at the next meeting after you've had a chance to take a look at this. And we can delay that, because this is really a hand raise on are we in or not with them. And so we've kind of informally done, we think we're in at this level, okay? 25 we're in on Lakeland Electric, but not, we haven't committed this money. Yes, sir.
Well, I too, in agreement with Commissioner McLeod, have not had the time to absorb, much of what I'm hearing. I too went to City Manager Sherrouse and asked him as well, because I can't talk to you. So
no.
I had to go where I had to go, And then I asked him if I saw the email that you had sent, because I know there had been some discussion well over a year ago and that kind of thing, but trying to bring myself back into understanding what it is all about. And then, of course, with the ask of the dollars, especially so as well. And I do admire, the different talent that we have on a dais here. So I look to folk like those of you with your professional expertise, that I don't have to just help. Let me hear some come through my ear gate that I can grab and say, oh yeah, okay, I got that. So I appreciate that, but I still want to make sure I can talk and get some information as much as I can, but and make sure we have the alignment, because I am concerned. I say this, I am concerned that we are not looked at trying to, and I hate to use this terminology, but we're railroading something for Lakeland. Because I don't want to get the sound bite with Polk County, the school board saying, oh, see, there they go again. Right. And we don't need that kind of play. I would not want that, because I know we have some key individuals on the board, school board it is, that want the best for all of our students in this county. And that's, of course, Lakeland is part of the county. So I'd like to talk more about that before we have, a final action.
Commissioner Reed, and then Commissioner.
Again, it was interesting, and you guys may know, fortunately, my kids are grown, and I haven't been in class in a long time. And I never took an online class. I always went in the classroom, but I was reading something yesterday, and it gave 12 different points on how to be successful on online and homeschool kids. And it was amazing things I never thought about, that how you're going to have a better chance of being successful if you do these things. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know if the school board passes out stuff like that or not.
Yeah. I imagine they would. Yeah. Commissioner Madden.
I also, was really glad to see that they were trying to cast a wide net and go to the actual businesses who are looking for, a workforce who's ready and prepared to take those jobs. So I do feel like, from what I've heard so far, just from the tiny update just now, and knowing that they've been doing a lot of research first, with Polk Vision, we were able to hear a little bit. But I think the broader the net and the more skin in the game from the business community who needs to have quality, educated workforce, that makes me feel good. That it's not just one organization or one category even of folks, kind of jockeying for a particular. I liked words like this is a portfolio and a balanced approach, pro public education. So from the things that I've heard in the language so far, I feel, excited about the possibility. I think it is incumbent upon us, to gather together as a community, and the communities that do see great results. You get the results that you demand, and that, for whatever you're held accountable, whether it's anything good, weight loss, or you do a better job. And so, but you need cheerleaders, not necessarily just people downing and dissing, saying how bad you are all the time. So I hope that this comes across as a way to augment what the county's doing and to cheerlead and to come alongside and support, not, that we're,
correct. I think we all are concerned about that tone. I agree. Commissioner McCarley.
The last thing I would say is that at Polk Vision several years ago, when we brought the alignment process to Polk County, it was patterned after Nashville, Tennessee, and Davidson County, where they literally the state of Tennessee was going to go into that county and take over their public high schools because they were failing so miserably. And they were on this precipice of losing local control of their high schools. So what happened was the business community are the people that bubbled up and said, we do not want the state to come, DOE to come take over our schools. And that's how alignment came, which is where we got academies from. I don't know if you know that historically, that's how we got academies from that model. And so Polk Vision has done this alignment process across the board, not just in education, but in all of their focus areas. And Lakeland Leads, I think, is learning from that because, again, it's the business leaders who have said, why can't we retain this talent? Why can't we recruit this talent? And how can we do this as leaders of a business? And the biggest thing is having the right people at the table to understand that as a bit, just like learning when we all became elected, I think, and have worked in business and worked in the private sector, that, you know, this place operates different than the private sector. The same thing holds true in a school. Like, we can act like private sector experiences can be applicable to the public school system. This public school system has different issues that we can't really fathom as a private sector employee until we're in there and walking the halls and we see how it all operates and the bureaucracy that comes down from DOE from the state level. So I applaud this group for doing the baseline research because I think that's what they're really doing, is saying, here's where we're at, here's the mirror, this is where we're at, how do we work together to make some inroads, to be able to underpin and I keep saying that word, but support our public school system and not leave them behind. Because the other choice is we leave them behind. And your kids are at public school, my kids are at public school, and I don't think any of us want to see that happen.
No.
Agree. Okay, so I'll get you each a copy of this, by the way. I'll just pick up a copy and then you can keep it. Okay, anything else? All right, then we are adjourned. Ready for Sean Strauss Day.
Hey, thank you.